What's up, everyone? Welcome to GameFace, episode 308 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, your host for the next couple hours of intense gaming discussion. Alongside me to do that is Matt Kyle. What's up, Matt?
Oh, not much. Just late nights waiting for things to unlock that don't unlock.
Yeah. We're going to...
Stray's rollout is one of the weirdest things I've seen on PlayStation so far. I'm like, what is going on? I don't have an equivalent for it.
Yeah, because you thought maybe it was going to unlock at 9 o'clock last night.
Yeah, well, the weird thing is, like, you couldn't pre-order it.
Right.
Like, there was no option to buy it until it went live. I've never seen that before.
That is weird. That seems like a mistake.
I don't know. You could just wish list it. And it was not in the coming soon. It was not, like, it didn't pop up on the store, once it went live in the morning. And then I was supposed to go live at, like, 2 a.m. our time. And then I waited until 2 a.m. And then suddenly there was a little timer for it on the store page. And then it jumped forward 5 hours. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to bed.
Yeah,
like,
it unlocked at like 5 in the morning or something.
It unlocked at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and it was for a while it was supposed to be 5 a.m.
Yeah.
and then it jumped.
But then it unlocked at different times in Europe, and there was no universal unlock thing. It was very weird.
Oh, the good news is we have some actual games to discuss with you guys today on the show, and some pretty good ones too. So I'm pretty excited about that. We have a little bit of housekeeping to get to before we get going. First of all, I have an update on my vacation to Greece. So I had said that I was going to be out around Labor Day weekend. As we actually went to buy our tickets and get the trip, again, that I'm getting all on credit card points, we found out that if we waited just like 3 or 4 weeks, the price for everything was cut in half.
Because you're off season.
Right.
At that point.
Yeah, so we changed our bookings. We are now leaving. It's October 15th is the date that we fly out. I've had tickets to go see New Order at the Hollywood Bowl for 3 years. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. So we were going to see New Order the weekend before, and then the next weekend we fly out for Greece. So October is going to be awesome for me. But anyway, an update. We will not kind of be on a hiatus around the Labor Day weekend like we had anticipated. I will still be going home for Labor Day weekend for fantasy football drafts and all that stuff, the stuff I usually do on Labor Day. But I'll be coming back like right after, and then we'll be doing shows up until I leave. So anyway, expect October to be a little slow on the Sifted and GameFace front, as I will be taking the first real vacation that I have had since 2012.
Wow.
2012 was the last year I took a real vacation.
10 years.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not much coming out in October anyway. So.
There's some. We'll get to it, though. It's not that busy, though.
You're gonna,
Years prior, I would have never left in October.
No.
But 2022.
So was it 2 weeks?
We're going for 10 days.
10 days. Okay,
yeah.
So you'll barely be back in time for Bayonetta.
Yes, I will be back in time for Bayonetta. Absolutely. So I think I'll be back in October for the big stuff. But anyway, again, the first vacation I've taken in 10 years. So people,
Johnny Hurricane, I'm gonna miss Overwatch 2. I wouldn't say I'm gonna miss it, Bob.
So if you're exactly. So if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, maybe I should start my own business someday. Remember this conversation. I have not had a vacation in 10 years, and that's all because I'm running my own business. And if I leave, nothing happens. Mm-hmm. It's terrifying as a business owner to do something like that, but at a certain point, you've got to do it. Like, you can't just go on like this forever. So I am taking a vacation, and whatever happens, happens. That's all I got to say. At this point, I for my mental health, I need a break. That's all there is to it.
Well, you were at the Parthenon, the internet burned down.
Right, exactly. That might be a blessing in disguise. Really? The internet's gone forever? I think the world might improve, Matt, if the internet disappeared.
Argument could be made.
I hate to say it at this point.
I will miss free shipping, though.
That's for sure. Or actually ordering anything online. There's things I would definitely miss.
You remember I was talking the other day about, like, because there was some guy going about, like, the metaverse is coming whether you like it or not kind of thing. And I'm like, corporate people never know what's coming.
No, they don't.
And usually you can bet that, like, whatever they think is not going to be popular is that. And I was remembering, like, I remember when I was, when we were in college, and the internet was just starting to rise in like '96 or so, and people were finally starting to like, oh, what's this internet thing? Mm-hmm. And like you had all these corporate like retail, CEO people being like, online shopping's never going to be a thing because no one wants to buy something they can't see.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, you missed that boat, didn't you? And
You sure did.
It's just like, it's so hard to predict.
It is hard to predict. Even people with all the money in the world can't predict what's going to happen next. So, anyway, again, I'll be out for a chunk of October, but I will now be around for the bulk of September, which was not going to be the case before. One other thing before we get going onto the show proper. I tried to play Halo Infinite's co-op campaign this week, Matt. Mm-hmm. I am a part of the Xbox Insider program, and so therefore I was privy to this early beta that they're running.
I am too. I just delete all the emails.
Yeah.
Because it's never anything interesting.
Yeah, well, finally there was something kind of interesting.
This is pretty good. That's pretty good.
So it's a separate client that you have to download. It does not sync with, like I finished the campaign myself months ago. In fact, I finished it while I was playing it because it's pretty short. I was able to just kind of power through it. But it did not take into account that I had already finished that. But the real catch is, Matt, there is no matchmaking for campaign co-op.
Smart.
No matchmaking. So I'm like, here it is. I have this new build loaded up. I couldn't play it because you have to count on people on your friends list being a part of the Insider program and them being online at that exact time that you're online and them wanting to actually play campaign co-op for Halo Infinite. And so I could not play it.
That's the real trick, is finding somebody who wants to play Halo Infinite.
Right, yeah, exactly. Especially this far out from when it was originally released. But I'll say this, I did end up learning a whole hell of a lot about Halo Infinite campaign co-op because I was searching the internet trying to figure out why I couldn't play a game and I couldn't matchmake with anyone. And oddly enough,
bizarre.
There really was not a good article that explained it. I just figured it out, eventually just fiddling with it. There's no matchmaking at all. But what I can tell you a lot about it. You can play with 4 players. There's a mechanic in the game where you can grapple onto other players. And it has broken the game. People have already figured out that you can slingshot each other all the way across the map. You can literally, there's this glitch where you tether to somebody, you get pulled in, and then somehow, just as you're about to connect with that other player, they tether you, and it just throws you all the way across the map. You literally fly 5 miles. And now people are using that to just go wherever they want on the map and completely circumventing the actual campaign. It's crazy. So I don't know what they're going to end up doing with that mechanic to tame it ultimately, because it's not going to work in the real game. So they're going to have to do something to fix it. But it's cool and fun. But other than that, it really is just playing through the campaign with other players. One other catch, though, about it is that if you get too far away from the rest of your team, you die. They will not let you go off and adventure on your own and find stuff on your own. I think they said it's 100 virtual meters. If you separate from the rest of the team, you just die. And then you respawn back with the rest of the team, which is weird.
I mean, they used to do that. If you got too far away, they just teleport you to where you were. Killing you is new.
Now they kill you, and then they send you back to everybody else. So
I wonder if that's a technical limitation.
I don't know why it would be.
I don't know.
But it probably is.
I don't know why you wouldn't have campaign co-op in this game in the first place. It's one of the trademarks of Halo.
We're how many months post-launch at this point, and they still don't have it available? It's always been available at launch for other Halo games. By the way, campaign co-op has been a thing in Halo since the first Halo game.
Since before online.
The first Halo game had campaign co-op. Yeah. By the way, this beta doesn't have split screen either. You can only play online, but you can't matchmake. What is going on?
I don't know.
What is going on?
It almost looks like some kind of weird suicide.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, we're just gonna. Are you trying to make us not want to play
Halo?
The game?
Are you trying to make us hate Halo? I saw on Sifted this week that the player count now for Battlefield 2042 is higher than the player count for Halo Infinite on Steam.
Ooh, wow. I mean,
think about that.
Halo's never been a huge PC game, but that's
insane.
Amazing. I don't get it.
But not that insane when you think about it.
No.
The drip of content that they've given out for Halo Infinite since it launched, and now the delays to these other modes.
I remain so confused about Halo's history post 3. It should have been the biggest slam dunk.
No brainer.
And it's Halo.
I know.
It's like being handed the keys, and you're like, how did they fuck up 3 games in a row on this thing?
I don't know.
I don't get it. And the collection, and the Master Chief collection, they had to step in and fix that themselves.
Think about how much work they've done on that to try to get that fixed.
4 years. 4 years of work to bring that up to what it should have been when it launched.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, kudos to them for sticking with it and getting it done. But, like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, really, all you had to do was just make the same game over and over again. Like, I would have been more happy sitting around being like, oh, Halo's the same Halo all over again for the third time after 3, than I would be now and be like, I don't want to play this crap.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and Infinite was fine. I mean, I like what they're after in Infinite. I hate 4 and 5. Like, especially 4. 4 is terrible. But, like, campaign,
I found them to be tolerable, not great.
The Prometheans are some of the worst enemies ever put in a shooter to me. Like, they're just boring to fight.
Well, you'll be glad that they're not in
Infinite. Yeah, that's one of the big pluses of Halo Infinite. They brought the fucking Covenant back. That's all I want to do. I want to shoot brutes and elites and grunts and vultures. You know,
they get that part right.
Like, that is what I want. Like, good. Yes, well done. I don't care what kind of weird story backflips you got to do to justify why I'm fighting the Covenant, even though that war is over. They found there's cults everywhere. We know that. That's fine. Yeah. There can be holdouts wherever you want. There were soldiers still thinking they were fighting World War II on the islands in the Pacific in the fucking 90s.
Yeah,
you know, it's fine. But like, yeah, it's just astounding. Like, it should have been the easiest sort of cake. Okay, we're just gonna make this game people love over and over again. Like, we formed a whole company just to do that. And here we are.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't, you know.
Yeah. All right,
similar with the TV show, it's like, that should have been a little smoother than it went.
You would think.
Like, I don't know who decided we needed a Master Chief sex scene, but, like, that was a bad call.
Yeah.
That was not what we're here for, I don't think.
Yep. Before we get going, let's check in with you guys on chat, see how you guys are doing this week. Hope you're having a great week. Mr. 60, thank you for Twitch Prime. Also, thank you for all the Tier 1 subs you just gifted to our community. That is awesome. Let's see what else we got here. Stolty69, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. I love everyone is saying, good, take a vacation. That makes me feel good. I don't know if that's going to help our Patreon when the people who don't show up live for our show decide whether they want to re-up every month. But we'll see. But I just can't do it anymore. I need a vacation. Vincent says you're going to miss Marvel's Midnight Suns, and that's about it. He's right. Yeah. So that'll be the big game that I will be coming in a little late on here on GameFace. But sorry, guys. I'm taking a vacation. Norix Nessie, thank you for Twitch Prime. Serious Sammy, thank you for chatting for the very first time on a live episode of GameFace, man. Be a part of the community more. Maybe we'll see you later on in the show if you try to win Name That Game. Get in there. Iviz, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's great. See if we got anything else. Jose Holiday, thank you for Twitch Prime. Mersh, thank you for Twitch Prime. You guys are awesome. Ashes in the Hourglass brings up, I'm also going to miss Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. That one bothers me more, actually. But
oddly similar, though.
Again, it's not going to bother me that much.
No.
To not take a vacation.
You can take a moment on the steps of an ancient ruin and just be like, "Oh, I could be playing Rabbids right now." Oh well.
Well, the funny part is, I could take my Switch with me.
I guess you could do that,
and I could play it while I'm rolling around Greece. But I'm not going to. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not playing any games.
I think you would get some side eyes from the wife.
My wife would not be happy about that, and honestly, I would not blame her one bit if she got pissed off about it. So.
Also, travel light. You don't need to bring more.
Yeah, I don't even take a carry-on bag, or I don't even need to check a bag. I just take a carry-on roller. Do you know that now every airline you have to pay extra to have check a bag?
Yep.
There's never even one free bag anymore on most airlines. It's insane what the airlines.
I haven't flown in like 4 years.
Oh,
or
really?
Something. And like, I think like now I'm basically like the tutorial from Advance Wars where the one guy's like, "What's an airport?"
I have to fly a few times a year just because I live here. My family's back on the East Coast. Just out of necessity, I end up doing it.
I used to fly back north. You know, if I wanted to just go home for like a weekend or something to San Francisco, I would do that. But now it's like, I don't want to go. I mean, I was always on the edge of not wanting to do that because, you know, it takes about 5.5 hours to drive there.
That's how long it takes if you fly.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
a half-hour flight, but it's a 5.5-hour process to get from here to the airport on the plane. Then you land, then you get the rental car, then you go back. I mean, it's the same amount of time, and at least, you know, if I'm in my car, I'm in control.
The other thing too, if you're smart and you live in LA, you don't drive much.
Right.
You pattern your life around not driving because driving here sucks. And if you have a car that you'd like to drive when you get a chance, there's your chance.
Yeah. You don't get to open it up too much.
You definitely do not. So every once in a while, like instead of like flying to Vegas, which is like a 45-minute flight, I'll drive. Mm-hmm. And plus, it's on that highway on the way to Vegas where you can literally go.
Yeah, on the 15, where when you cross the state line into Nevada, and you're heading towards you're in the last like 50 miles to Vegas. I've been going 100 on that road and been being passed by people on the right. Like,
Matt, I've gone. You want to know how fast I've gone on that highway before?
I imagine you've pinned it a couple of times.
I haven't pinned it, but I've gone 150 miles an hour.
Like, it's just people are on the warpath to give their money to Las Vegas, and
now,
you better get out of their way.
I'm going to qualify this. This was at literally like 2 a.m, and I was like the only car on the road. I would never do that in traffic. But to Matt's point, the last hour to Vegas, it is flat and straight so far,
and you can see it because it's glowing in the
the heat simmers and it just goes to a pixel. And it's just that straight road, and that's where I opened it up. And I went 150 some miles an hour.
And you can at nighttime you can see Vegas glowing.
Yeah,
in the distance.
You can see the glow on the horizon. It's pretty crazy.
And people are just, we gotta go.
We gotta get there.
The buffets are waiting, and no one cares.
Danny and Doris just made a good point. I think we just turned into a travel podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, things are slow right now, people. We gotta do whatever we can to get this show out.
Today we are going to be globe face. That's what we are today.
Okay.
And we are round. God damn it.
Okay, let's start the actual show. I think we should do that. We're gonna kick things off with the game that Matt and I were just discussing a minute ago, Stray. It is now that I played it, I know exactly what it is. It is a puzzle adventure platformer, basically, where the platforming is mostly automatic.
Yeah, the platforming is not really platforming. It's
like
press X to jump on the thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's like canned. It's,
yes. You're not controlling the cat as it jumps.
You need to get the X to pop up. The prompt has to pop up before you can jump.
Yeah, and then the cat will just automatically jump up or jump down.
I saw some guy on Resetera who was like asking about this game, and he's like, well, what kind of combat is it? Is there like combo? He was upset that it didn't have like a platinum style combo system, and people were like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's very weird. It's like, well, if there's no juggle combos, I don't see why I'd want to play this game more than once. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Well, I see Sneaky just mentioned in chat that his cat is dying.
Oh.
Of all days. This is awful. I don't know if you guys remember last week, my mom's cat is on the verge of being put to sleep. And I actually cried on the show last week thinking about it. So I know how you're feeling, man, and we're sending our love to you. And maybe seeing some of the footage in this game will maybe make you feel a little bit better. Because one thing that this game does is it nails being a cat. It is crazy how it nails being a cat. You can tell that the people who made this game love cats and are very in tune with felines and how they act and how they react. Like, this is the start of the game. You wake up as a cat and you're around 3 or 4 other cats, and the first thing that you can do is interact with the other cats. Butt heads, rub each other, all the stuff that cats do when they're around other cats. They let you do it right at the beginning of the game, and I think that establishes the game as like, okay, this isn't going to be what that person was looking for.
Right.
Wait, did you say it's Resetera? Is that what you're supposed to say it?
It's
not Reset Era, it's Resetera?
It's Resetera.
Resetera.
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird. And I think the game tells you right away, this is not an action game. You're not going to be a cat with your claws out, like fighting other cats. It's not like an alley cat simulator or whatever. The plot. So you wake up as a cat, and you're just a normal cat in the normal world. And as you'll see here in the B-roll in the next couple seconds, something happens, and you end up falling. Like, this tube basically breaks, and you end up falling down.
It's funny because I thought when they're jumping over the various things, I'm like, oh, this stuff's in disrepair. Like, one of these days, some of these things are going to fall, and they're not going to be able to get across stuff, and that's going to. And sure enough,
that's exactly what happened. So a piece of pipe that you're using to traverse breaks, and your cat falls, much to the chagrin of the other cats that are with you, and you fall down into this other world, down in the sewers.
The Dead City.
Called Dead City, where it's inhabited by robots and these strange creatures called Zerks. And it appears that the Zerks are taking over the Midnight City. And there's this growth that's kind of happening that's taking over. It's a little bit like The Last of Us or whatever. The way the stuff is kind of growing all over everything. And it's like this weird, like, alien, like, gunky whatever. And you get down to this subterranean city called Dead City. And these robots are terrified of you because you're a cat. And they have never really seen a lot of things from the real world.
Yeah, I've never seen organic life before.
They're familiar with a lot of it because as you travel through Dead City, you come across pictures of cows and things like that. There are postcards and things that tell the robots what the real world or the world upstairs is like, but they've never been there. There's an elevator, apparently, that has not worked for 374 years, according to one of the robots. And another robot had been trying to fix this elevator for all that time and had just recently given up. And so they instruct you to go and visit this other robot who had tried to return to the world upstairs but had never managed to figure it out. And that is kind of the goal of the game, I think, is to return to the normal world.
At least that seems to be the beginning goal.
Right.
I'm sure it gets bigger.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it already, for me, kind of has become bigger. But I think that's the overarching thing that you're trying to achieve, is to get back to the world that you came from. However, you're an alley cat, so I don't know that the world that you came from is all that desirable.
Well, you want to get back to your family, your cat family here.
Yeah, your crew of other cats that you're seeing right here, actually, that you start the game with. But otherwise,
it's pretty safe to assume that they're related.
You think?
Well, look, one of them's orange. Got the orange on them. I mean, these are feral cats form colonies.
That's true.
There's no one around, so this is his group.
Okay.
That's why they're all upset when he falls. Cause
yeah.
He can't. I mean, which is an upsetting scene.
It is
to me. Like you're like, oh, like because he gets hurt. He does get hurt when he falls, and then it kind of passes out. But then he gets right back up in the next scene. Like it's not like a bad. If you're worried about, I've seen a lot of people asking like, well, I want to play this, but like, do horrible things happen to the cat? And so far, no. Like.
I mean, not horrible.
No, I mean it's not a good situation to be in. Like
yeah.
You're lost among evil robot things, but like the cat is not being tortured or hurt or maimed or anything. I mean, it's I didn't like seeing the. I mean, I think it's for me. It's like how people say when they have kids, like they can't like watch kids be hurt in movies. Like for me, I just picture my own cats in these situations, and it bothers me.
Yeah.
But no, so far, other than that, which I think you need, you're supposed to feel bad, and you're supposed, it's the inciting incident, that you have to, a bad thing has to happen to the hero. So, but for me, it's even more like, like there's things where you have to push a board down to like cross up, very basic, adventure game things. But like, whereas with a human main character, I push the board. I'm like, okay, I just walk across the board. With this, I'm like, you don't know if that board's stable. You can't walk across that board. It's like
It's kind of funny that we have. I would argue a lot of people feel this way, that they have more empathy for animals than they do humans, because animals are innocent,
right? And they don't understand. A cat or a dog would not necessarily understand the need to worry about the stability of a board, and if they fell and got hurt, they wouldn't know what to do, and that no one would be there to help. Like, that's the concern. It's like a human being, I don't feel so bad because they can try to figure out a way to help themselves, or they understand the consequences of what they're trying to do, and an animal doesn't have that. Although the further you get, this cat is shockingly good at problem solving. Yeah. So maybe he does understand. I don't know.
Yep. So you haven't seen them yet, but the Zerks are basically the enemies in the game. They're these weird, like little creatures that have like one glowing eye.
I took them to be robots. Unless
you took what?
I took them to be robots.
Oh, I don't know that they are. I thought they were growing out of the goop.
Yeah, but I think they're nanomachine. I think they're nanomachine based.
Oh, they're machines.
That's my guess. I mean, they haven't said. You're further than I am, so I don't know. But because Zerk to me says berserk.
This scene right here.
Yeah, it's very sad.
It is so sad.
Because Zerk to me says berserk, so I think they're rogue. I think they're rogue machines.
Okay.
That like turned against the machine. I think the irony is that this is usually the machines turn against man. I think this is the machines turned against the machines.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Interesting.
And it's probably the fault of the guy whose apartment you find the AI in that helps you, the little robot that helps you.
So that is ultimately what happens. As you see, he's now waking up in Dead City, he or she. I can't figure out if the cat's male or female.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We'll just go with he for the sake
I usually
of the
think of
discussion.
cats as female, but like that's just most
that's
of my
odd
cats
actually, but I do too.
Most of my cats in my life have been female.
Yeah. So he or she wakes up in Dead City and quickly begins exploring after he kind of gets over the effects of the big fall. But, as they say, cats have 9 lives. They always land on their feet. It's very hard for a cat to die from a fall, by the way, because they kind of turn themselves into little parachutes.
Yeah.
And they create, like, a terminal velocity that isn't terminal. They slow themselves down enough that if they land, they won't die. Like, a cat can fall from the top of a tree, and 9 times out of 10, it will survive.
Yeah. And there's, like, a weird limit to where, like, it's like, there's a point where, like, that trick doesn't work. So like there's a point where it's more dangerous for them to fall from a lower height than from a higher height, because higher they can do that.
They can do the parachute thing.
There's like a specific like 2-foot window where it doesn't work
where
right,
deadly.
where they can be hurt badly.
Wow, I didn't know that
because that move doesn't. It's like pulling your parachute too low. Basically.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's like the gap between like a safe jump there where they wouldn't be in danger and where they can use that fall trick.
Yeah.
And a lot of them know what that is, so that's why sometimes you'll get them stuck in the tree because like they know they can't.
They're like, this is the
the wrong height for this. I do like that knocking things off surfaces is a major game mechanic.
It's a mechanic.
Yeah,
because that's what cats do.
Yeah.
They jump up on stuff and they knock stuff over. One of the puzzles is...
Mine have never done that.
Really?
Yeah,
they always managed to walk around everything?
Yeah, or like, Luna, somebody trained Luna before I got her to not get up on things.
Oh,
so she just doesn't get on surfaces.
Gotcha. Cats walking on keyboards.
Yes.
You saw the puzzle in this game,
and
walking on a keyboard.
And I will note, because this is who I am, the keyboard and paw placement is accurate.
Yeah.
Like you are actually typing the letters that the paws are hitting, and if you step on one paw, it will be the right letter, and it will just repeat that letter while you're standing on it. It's a very detailed simulation. I was impressed by that.
The one thing that struck me when I first finally had control and started platforming myself was how high the cat can jump.
Yep.
When I first started looking at this area that we're seeing right now, I was like, wait a minute, all this stuff is way too high. There's no way I can get up there. And then you start to realize, oh yeah, that cat can jump way higher than you think.
Cats can jump. Cats are, I had cats that could jump 12 feet sometimes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like scrambling up the side of the wall. But like,
but they'll make it.
The other thing that I had to get adjust to is the idea that bars and grates are not obstacles,
right?
Because
the
cat can go through them. Because usually you see like a grate with a light behind it, and you're like, okay, I got to open that grate so I can get through. No, you just walk through it.
Or you just are trained to turn and go away from it because you're like, I can't get through there. It's so funny how games have built up this database of information in our minds that tells us like, no, can't do that. Got to go the other way.
And this game is intentionally playing with that.
Oh yeah,
which is pretty smart.
I mean, just because what you're controlling is so small, it changes how you look at the environments so much.
And the early part of the game here does a good job of teaching you that. Like the part, because they realize that part of what they have to do early on in the game is break you of those habits.
Yep, absolutely.
And this early part does a good. This early part is some really smart game design.
Yeah, it is, and it's still entertaining and fun.
Yeah. And slowly eases you into the idea that like, does the cat understand the neon signs directing it to like come help this thing, or is that just for us? And the answer is basically we don't know, and it doesn't really matter.
Well, it does kind of explain it, because eventually when you get your little robot sidekick, spoiler, but it's not a spoiler, it's been in all the trailers.
Yeah.
Eventually you find a little robot sidekick that you get, and you use the robot sidekick as like a translator.
Right.
It lets you talk to the robots. It lets you talk to all the other denizens of the city.
But at this point, it's just got a picture of a cat in neon saying "Follow me," and I'm like, I don't know if the cat can understand.
Yeah, I think that's for us.
That's
actually
probably for us.
Yeah, that's like the sign.
But again, as I say, the cat is very good at problem solving, even without the AI.
Oh yeah.
Also,
absolutely.
I love that. If you've seen the footage of it where it's got the AI, the drone with it. It's the cat wears like this little harness thing that the drone like charges in, and when you first put the harness on, the cat like flops
so
to the
heavy.
ground. And no, because it doesn't like having anything. They'll do that with cones and like harness, whatever you put on them, they'll flatten the ground and just be like crawl around like that. And it's like, oh, do you not like that? You'll get used to it. I'm like, yeah, that's but it's like it's a really realistic
everything
reaction
about the
of a cat to
in
suddenly
this
having
game
a thing
is
on them.
crazy realistic.
Yeah.
They have just nailed being a cat.
Yeah,
in
and
this
early
game.
on, I was actually a little worried because that you saw the cutscene earlier where all the colony of cats leaves and kind of goes down the pipes and in the big sort of Last of Us, wide shot.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't think the animation's all that good in that shot. Like, they're a little too weightless. They're a little too fast. But then like when the gameplay starts, it's like, oh no, this is pretty almost flawless. Like, it's
the cat's animation is incredible. Now I
like
would
it's
argue
like picking up Eco for the first time.
Yeah.
And being like, oh wow, look at how this moves.
Yep. Now I would argue the cat could look a lot better. The first shading on the cat's not great.
Yeah, the cat could use a little more visual work, but I'm curious if we'll get a here's the pushing stuff off the thing as a game mechanic. I'm curious if they will maybe update this a little bit for the PS5.
I think they will,
because judging by some of the state that certainly the state the PC version is in, I think this game barely got out the door.
Now, one thing I should mention actually is that our lower third is incorrect because you can also play this on PS4.
Yeah, there's a
so
PS4
it's not
version.
just PS5. That's a mistake that I made. So
well, I also thought it was only PS5.
Yeah, it's
I don't know why
not
I
though.
thought
When
that.
you buy it, you can choose to install the PS4 version if you want to.
Yeah, but that's the first time I encountered that.
Yeah.
So
just a heads up that if you're a PS4 owner, you can also buy it and play it right now on PS4. And that's it, though. By the way, this is a PlayStation console exclusive. This is not available for Xbox or Switch yet, but also you can buy it on PC. But as Matt has said, there are lots of problems with the PC version of this so far.
Yeah, the PC version has a really bad shader stutter, classic Unreal problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, apparently it has that hitch in it constantly.
Now you can see I'm scratching the carpet with the cat. And I haven't figured out yet exactly what this is for.
I'm going to guess that that's related to, like, finding stuff later or something.
Now, there is a section later on where there's, like, a mark on the wall that you can scratch. And I scratched it for, like, 20 minutes, and I never burrowed through the wall. So I don't know what it's for. But there's also carpets all over the environment. I don't know if eventually it's something that matters. But so far, it just seems like it's something for fun.
Yeah, so far it just seems like the people making the game were like, well, you should be able to dig on the carpet.
Yeah, that's what
you're
cats
a cat,
do. Yeah.
So you can.
Yeah.
Just like there's a button for meowing.
Yes.
Which has not been...
Yeah, so you can move, you can jump, and you can meow. And the meow is the circle button, I think.
Yeah.
And the meow, I'm not sure exactly what it does.
It meows.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. But
so
I mean,
far,
as
that's
far as
all.
the mechanic, like inside the game.
No, it just meows so far. I mean, there might be sound activated stuff later in the puzzles or something. I'm sure.
Or maybe you can use it to call your
you might.
robot.
I could definitely, I could definitely see like teaming up with other cats later.
That's possible. Oh, I thought there was no cats in this world, though.
I don't know. I'm sure things can
maybe
change.
You're right. Maybe eventually you do finally discover other cats.
Also, you use it to get things off your head, like when the Zerks jump on you. You tap it to throw them off.
Yeah, because there's like there's chase sequences where the Zerks will come after you, and you have to run away from them, and they'll actually jump on you, and you have to shake them off with the circle button, basically. But other than that, that's pretty much all the controls that you have in this.
So far.
Yeah, move, jump, meow, and then there's context-sensitive stuff, like we just showed the scratching of the carpet stuff. The camera in this, Matt, is amazing.
Mm-hmm. They do a really good job with it.
It needed to be amazing because these environments are so intricate, and there are multiple ways to get almost everywhere in this game, by the way. Now, I will say this. I have not been rewarded with something because I went, like, a different way.
No, although there are definitely memory collectibles.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that'll pop. That eventually, I'm sure eventually it'll open up and there'll be more dead ends with things to find and stuff.
Yeah, you find memories of the world above. Like the first one I found was a poster for a video game. And I think it looks like there's going to be a lot of those that you need to collect through the game. I'm not sure what they accomplish yet, but it does appear that there's going to be a bunch of those that you need to collect throughout the course of the game. And again, they're kind of memories.
That's a really smart detail they do there, like where the cat hisses.
Yeah,
and then it licks its lips. Like that's a cat that's under stress.
Yeah, yeah.
And like a lot of work.
They've just nailed it. Yeah. They have nailed playing as a cat. There's no other way to put it. So eventually, you do find robots, and at first when they see you, they're terrified of you. One of them says, like, you can hang out here as long as you don't eat us. They think that cats are gonna, like, eat robots or whatever, but it's like they've never seen one before. Right. They don't know what it is. So when you first come
But
across
they seem to
them,
instinctively know it's an apex predator.
right?
So.
Yeah. When they start shutting their doors, and one of them like triggers an alarm, and the whole city kind of shuts down. But you come across this group of robots that are willing to talk to you, and that's kind of where I would argue the real adventure of the game begins, because that's when you get your AI robot, and there's a bunch of puzzles you have to solve to make that happen. So you have your little sidekick that's going to play with you. His name is B12, and as soon as you
the vitamin.
Yeah. And as soon as you get him, they show you that, yeah, this guy is going to be used to solve puzzles throughout the course of the game. You come across this old adventurer's apartment, basically, and he's not there, but his old robot sidekick is still there, and you kind of rummage through his apartment, and it's kind of like an escape room. As far as, like, your first real puzzle in the game, you use the AI little floating robot to help you solve the puzzles. Like, he can use like the keypads, and he can hack stuff, things like that. He can go places that the cat can't go because he can kind of fly and hover like a drone in a lot of ways. You end up finding a code, and you have to use the robot to input the code on the pad by the door so you can get out of the apartment. It's all stuff like that. There's also sections where it's almost like a horde mode, where he is busy doing something, and you need to distract the enemies away from him while he's doing his thing. So there's all kinds of mechanics built around kind of that cooperative play. But, just a note, someone else cannot join and control the drone. It's not like that. He comes out in very specific instances. Now, the D-pad is used for a bunch of stuff. D-pad up lets you access your inventory. And once you also collect postcards that are images, obviously, from the world above. And you can take that postcard around, and you can show it to people, and that's other kind of puzzle-solving items that you use throughout the game. So to access, like, the postcards, to show it to people, you need to tap up on the D-pad. If you tap the D-pad left, your little AI drone robot acts as a flashlight, so you can use him as a flashlight to see in dark areas and dark rooms. If you tap the D-pad down, that's you asking B12 for help. And then some extra mechanics, like there are zip lines in the games that are basically buckets. And you can jump in the bucket and then control going up or down on the zip line, which is a way to get across. Lots of complicated terrain in a very easy and simplified way. Most of the platforming in the game is linear and automatic, as we mentioned earlier, but as I said, there are multiple ways to get almost everywhere in this game. And a lot of it comes down to experimentation, walking around, waiting for the prompts to pop up. That's not great, honestly, but it is kind of an adventure game trope. It's one of those things where you're just kind of like making the cat run around the room. I almost am already at the point in this game where I come into a room and I just run around the circumference of the room to see what
you can interact with.
Right, yeah.
Classic point-and-click adventure game
style.
Yeah,
same stuff. If you've been playing this genre for a long time, you're going to do a lot of the same stuff that you did in typical point-and-click adventure games in the past. So yeah, if you're looking at this game to be like an action game, it's really not. There's some action scenes, but it's not really an action game.
No, it's a puzzle-solving adventure game that is also a meditation on what it means to be alive.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. There are other little extras that you'll come across. Like, you'll come across balls that you can bat around and play with. As I mentioned earlier, there's places where there's scratch points on walls. I haven't figured out yet what that's supposed to do, but I have not managed to scratch through a wall yet, so I don't know what the mechanic is they're looking for there. The cat can get a paper bag caught on its head, and it will flip the controls. It will invert them, so everything is reversed while the bag is on its head. I don't know if eventually that becomes a part of a puzzle-solving thing or a mechanic or whatever.
I feel like that's mostly just annoying.
Yeah, I think it's just happened so far for fun. Like, I don't think that there's any actual, like, importance to it other than, like, oh my gosh, now my cat has a bag on its head, and that's entertaining. Also, because of the way that you can go different directions to get to the same place, you'll sometimes come across items and get them and have to hold them for a while. Because I think sometimes there's like a more obvious, longer way to get something, and that is tied into the quest progression, meaning if you went that way and you got the item, immediately there's some way to use it. But there's also ways where you can get that item kind of before you're supposed to, and then end up carrying that item on you for a while until you finally get to the place where you end up using it. Yeah, and as Matt said, there's things that you collect. Like I said, there's postcards, and then there are like these posters. I don't know how else they're going to convey the collectible stuff, but so far the one that I've seen is a poster for a video game, and you just kind of look at it, and I think you hit the circle button or whatever, or the square button, and you just kind of absorb the information from the poster, and then it kind of jogs your memory of what it was like to be in the above ground world. And that's pretty much all I've experienced at this point, Matt. What are your impressions of this game? The game sells for $30. As we said, it's PS4, PS5, and PC. And it's $30. I will be honest with you, Matt. I feel like I may have already got my $30 worth of entertainment out of this. Like, I'm enjoying it that much. I've never played a game like this. Have you?
I mean, there's a comparison to be made to A Dog's Life, which is a PS2 game where you played a dog.
I never played that. Yeah.
But that was a lot more comedy oriented and kind of goofy. This is, in terms of like an actual, like a cyberpunk cat adventure, this is a new one on me. No, it's really good so far. I'm only like an hour and a half into it. There's an example of having to realize you can go through the bars,
right?
Because I wandered around that room for a while before I was like, oh, I can just
walk
through
right
there.
through there. Yeah, it's crazy. But there's like really puzzles where like there's one room where there's like 4 places for batteries. You have to scour the room to find all the batteries and then plug them into their slots.
Yeah. Like there's some of the stuff's more intricate than you think.
Yeah.
So I like it so far.
I really like it. I tried to think of other games to compare it to, and it's always like small person, big world games like Rocket Robot on Wheels or Grounded, stuff like that. Chibi Robo is another one, like where you're like this little thing in this gigantic world. Army Men, Sarge's Heroes. So it's like that same aesthetic. But I feel like this plays on that way, way better than any game that has kind of come before it in that way. And again, for $30, it's a unique experience. It's so far what I've played is handled very, very well. I feel like anybody can enjoy this. So if you know people in your life who are cat lovers, who are casual game players, get them this game. They will love you. And they will love that they bought that PlayStation or that Xbox or what. Well, they can't play it on Xbox yet.
Well, I'm gonna finish it before I do that because I want to make sure that nothing happens to the cat.
Oh, that could terrorize somebody. And yeah. But that's kind of part of the thing, isn't it, though?
I do not think the game is going to kill the cat.
I don't either. Yeah. I think maybe a cat may die. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't think it'll be your cat.
I feel like they know that would turn too many people off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen.
Huh. We'll see.
This ain't Last Guardian, folks. They're not here to traumatize you. They're here to tell a story.
Yeah. But again, I'm a big fan of innovation and unique games. This is one of the most unique games I've played in a really long time, and it's executed extremely well. So I would recommend this to just about anyone, other than that guy on Reset Era who wants it to be like a platinum hack and slash.
I mean, I guess if you hate cats,
it's
probably not going to do a lot for you.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. If you hate cats, you're probably not going to like it.
Then you're also not allowed in my house, so it works out.
I think someone mentioned Enslaved.
Oh yeah. There's a comparison to be made there. That's true.
It's a little similar to that
because Enslaved had a similar sort of like auto platforming system to it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Reviews so far for the game have been great. All high 8s, low 9s, pretty much.
Yeah, if your fantasy team wasn't doomed, it would be a really good.
It would have been a
really good pick.
Because I got it with like the 8th pick or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so I got it late, but it's not going to save me now. But if you guys have questions about this game, because it just came out this morning, and so maybe some of you guys are wondering like if you want to pull the trigger on it or not. If you have questions about it that maybe are keeping you from pulling the trigger and buying it, let us know and we'll answer them for you if we can. But from what I've read, the game is only about 8 hours long, but $30, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
For a unique experience like this, like 8 hours, that's fine. I even wonder if I don't know if I'd want to play a game in this genre for much longer than that.
8 to 10 hours is about the right length for an adventure game.
It is, yeah. Usually by then I'm burned out.
Sometimes you get away with, like longest journey is like 20 hours, but like the title warns you, and second, and B, like that story is 20 hours long. Like that's the thing I don't like is like, oh, you're just padding. No, longest journey is 20 hours because that story is 20 hours.
It takes that long to tell the story.
But generally, I think like especially like an action puzzler, like I think 8 to 10 is about right.
Yeah.
That's about enough time to show me all the mechanics in the first half and give me the second half to sort of use all the mechanics to do all the clever ideas you came up with, to incorporate everything you can do, and then I'm done.
Yep.
Like, that's about right.
And I'll say this too, in the time that I played this, I never got stuck. So I never came across any puzzles that were obtuse or weird, or where I had to like run around for 20 minutes just trying everything over and over, the way you often have to do with this genre, where you just go through the process of elimination over and over again. Until you figure out the exact item that you need to use on whatever object there is. There's a little bit of that in the old Resident Evil games as well.
Chat saying it's more like 5 hours long.
I just Googled it very quickly, how long is Stray, and the results had 8 hours. So, and it said more than that if you want to try to collect all the memories. So let's just settle in the middle at like 6.5 or 7 hours, something like that. I'm still cool with that for $7.
Yeah, I mean, I can finish Eco in like 2 hours. A great game doesn't have to be a long game.
The other thing, and I think we mentioned this last week as well, is that if you are a member of, I believe, the middle tier of PlayStation Plus, this game is free.
I think it's the top tier.
Is it the top tier?
Yeah.
One of the more expensive
It tried
tiers.
to sell me an upgrade when I bought the game.
It tried to do that with me too, but the upgrade was for a year of it.
Yeah.
There was no way to just upgrade for the month to get the game.
Yeah, there is no monthly option on the upgrades for PlayStation Plus.
And I don't think there's any way to buy that at a store either. Like a 1 month of like the highest tier.
No, they got rid of that, I think.
Yeah, they started like weaning those out as the rumors started swirling about how they were going to change how that all worked. So I do not think that you can buy just 1 month of the higher tier so you get this game for free and save yourself $30, because you're probably going to spend $5 or $6 extra over what you're spending on PlayStation Plus now. So you can't get this game for like $5 or $6. Like, I think it was like 100 or something that like they were asking for. So I don't know how practical of an idea it is to say you can get this game for $5 or $6. Maybe somebody out there will be able to figure out how to finagle it, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So to me, I would argue that unless you're really excited about the new PlayStation Plus and what that offers, you should probably just spend the $30 on this game. The other part of it too is obviously if you get it free with PlayStation Plus, it's not a permanent part of your library. So if you ever I wonder if that's actually a good question, Matt. If you drop back down to a lower tier, do you lose access to any games that you got from being a part of that higher tier? I would guess probably so.
Maybe. As I remember, the PlayStation Plus games were permanent additions to your library, whether you subscribed or not. But I think these are...
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No. If you stop subscribing to PlayStation Plus, all the free games that you've been getting all these years every month, you cannot access them anymore. You have to be a subscriber. Weird. Now, you can drop and come back and they'll still be there. But if you're not paying, you can't access them.
So I lost my PlayStation Plus subscription briefly because my credit card didn't carry over, and I could still play them.
When you didn't have the subscription?
Yeah, for like a month.
It probably was just waiting for your subscription to lapse.
Maybe.
Yeah. But typically you can't. So
one way or the other, I'm going to assume that that's irrelevant anyway, and this is like a Game Pass thing, and if you stop subscribing to Game Pass, you can't play Game Pass games anymore.
Yeah.
So I imagine this is the same.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong that PlayStation does that. I'm just trying to figure out for people what the cheapest way is that they could access the game. Vincent says you can't drop back down until your sub expires.
Games with gold is permanent.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't drop back down until your sub expires.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to.
Well, you can't.
Yeah.
Because you still have the sub.
That's the sub.
I don't understand what he's saying there. Xbox games with gold are permanent editions. PlayStation Plus are not. I don't think games with gold you can access those either.
No, games with gold you can. Absolutely, 100%.
If you're not subscribed to...
Games with gold was always a permanent gift.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. That was the difference between them. I remember that now. Games
with gold is only permanent for Xbox 360, is what Jill31 says.
Because Games with gold, didn't it stop? That's not a thing anymore.
No, it's still a thing.
I thought they ran out of 360 games.
The reason you think it stopped is because the games have become so pathetic.
Well, also you can't find them anymore.
Well, they're better at that now. Like, you can go and there's actually now, if you just tap down on the dashboard, eventually you get to a Games with Gold panel that will have all of the three.
I think
games
I stopped doing that on the Xbone
because they're terrible.
Because they weren't worth.
They're not worth even the time.
You were basically clogging up your full library list to get to the games you wanted to.
Yeah, but games with gold are not permanent anymore. Like if you lapse your subscription, you do not have access to those games.
I can't remember the last games with gold thing I looked at.
Because they're all bad, dude. It's
360 era, they were great.
They were amazing. I remember when it all first started, we were like,
Like
oh
giving
my
away
gosh.
Battlefield and shit. It was incredible.
It was amazing. Not anymore, because they want everyone to get on Game Pass now.
Yeah.
They almost want games with gold to be a deterrent to push you to Game Pass. Because they're like, oh, why are you spending $5 a month on Xbox Live Gold when you can spend an extra $10 and you get all this other stuff?
Well, didn't they stop if they stopped the 360 one a while ago? I thought because they were out of 360 games.
They did, yeah. Yeah, they ran out of games they were right, because
I mean, it's 2 generations ago.
At the end of the run, they were really at the dregs of the library. So I totally understand why they did it, but yeah. And then Vincent says they're stopping Xbox 360 games for good in October. But they're going to keep dealing with Xbox One and Xbox Series for the foreseeable
I wouldn't
future.
even know where to look for that.
Yeah.
In the UI, like they bury that pretty hard.
Yep.
Game Pass is right there. It's just like it's got its own tab. But
here's a question from Mr. 60. I understand this is the studio's first game. Can you think of another studio, first time out, came out with a strong showing like this? That's a great question.
Eco.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was the studio's first game.
That was their first game.
Yeah. That's why they're called Team Eco.
I'm trying to think.
To really answer your question, there aren't a lot.
No, and it depends like what you're talking. Like Double Fine's first game was great, but those were veterans forming a new company.
I think you're gonna see in honestly 343 Studios.
Also, a lot of the
Halo
indie stuff.
4. I mean, Matt hates it, but really for a studio's first game, it's pretty ambitious and pretty polished.
Half those people had made 3 Halo games already.
But I mean, that's what I'm getting at, though. Is like, what's a new studio anymore? Because there's so many veterans now that can just form a new studio that it's almost expected now that a new studio makes a great game with its first game.
I wouldn't say that.
Like Callisto Protocol. There's another new studio. Like,
I don't know if that's going to be good though. Veterans,
I think it'll probably be pretty good.
Veterans, sure, but I think if you're talking about brand new studios you've never heard of, you've got the indie game world is full of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like Night in the Woods,
Journey,
or Journey was their second or third game.
Was it? Oh, Flower was their first.
They did Flower
game.
and they did Flow before that.
Yeah, and those were good
Flow
games.
Flow was good.
Yeah.
What was it? Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
Just do the nights. There's tons.
Indie studios.
Indie studios do that all the time. The question, in fact, indie studios is not even.
The bigger question is the second game.
Right. It's not even. It's not. The first game is usually the thing they've had in their minds for 10 years. The second game is where you gotta make it count.
It's like like bands with their albums.
It's like we're still waiting for Silk Song.
Yeah, you're right though. You're absolutely right. But it's like bands with albums. Like the real test is the second album, because the first album,
Ori and the
Blind Forest.
Blind Forest.
The first one. Yep, that was great too.
The indie game world is full of great first games.
Yeah. It's the second one. Bands are the same way. That's why you can always tell a good band. The second album is good, they're a good band. Because bands, by the time they make their first album, most of them have been together for 5 or 6 years. And they've been writing songs all along.
And just picking your best material over all that time.
Of all that time. And then they release that album.
Now you got to write another one in 2 years.
In 2 years. Yeah. Not just write it, you got to write it.
Write it, perform it, perfect it. Hone it,
produce it, release it. And that's when the rubber hits the road. So it's the same deal with games. It should be easy with the first one. The second one is where things start to get a little more difficult. So Supermassive, yeah. Supergiant. Yep, Supergiant. And they've managed to...
I don't like Bastion all that much, but I don't think most... I think most people would say it's a great game for the most part.
Yep.
And they've only gotten better.
Yeah, so every time. Yeah,
Supergiant's actually an anomaly in that regard. They just get better and better.
Oh, one Super Master Gamer brings up Kenna.
Yeah,
another great first game. Yeah, there's actually more than I thought than when you first asked the question. If we really start thinking about it, so I buy it. $30. Are you cool with what you've seen so far to recommend somebody buys the game?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I think if you look at the premise and the idea and it appeals to you, I don't think you'll be disappointed.
It's executed well. Yeah. And it is really dry right now. So I know some of you guys, you may not want to play Elden Ring for the 5th time. You may be ready for something new. This is a pretty good choice. And there's not a ton coming in the next few weeks either. That might, if you're not into Xenoblade Chronicles 3, that should boost your
Or
idea of buying this even more.
You'll get this done before Xenoblade.
Oh,
comes
yeah.
out.
You'll get this done by the end of the week, let's be honest, if you buy it today and you have some time to play. But that's 2 thumbs up for us from Stray. We'll probably talk about this again next week because Matt and I will probably both finish it in the next day or two is my guess. Because I am addicted to it and I am excited to go home after this is over and keep playing it. So I will probably talk about it next week. It'll be a shorter discussion and most of it will be built around what changed based upon what we discussed the week prior, but we'll definitely discuss it again. And we also have some other games for next week's show too, so next week's show should be pretty good. So there you go. That's Stray. Again, it's available for PS4, PS5, and PC. It's available for $30. Although, one thing to keep in mind is the PC version is having issues right now. So you may want to wait until they get the first patch out on PC.
Sounds like it.
But smooth sailing on PlayStation. It runs great on my PS5, no problems at all, and looks amazing. So that's 2 thumbs up from us for Stray. Next up, Bayonetta 3. The funny part is, after an entire year of terrible news from my fantasy team, I actually got great news this week from my fantasy team. We found out that Stray is good, and we found out that Bayonetta 3 is, in fact, coming out this year. They finally announced the release date for Bayonetta 3. It is October 28th.
I've been saying Bayonetta 3 in October for months.
You did say that. Where did you get that info from?
I'm telling you.
Okay. It was reliable, obviously. Whoever that source was, it's a good source that you should depend on in the future. But yeah, it is coming out on October 28th. Again, it is a Switch exclusive, just like Bayonetta 2 was a Wii U exclusive. It is kind of funny how this franchise has been kind of taken over.
Yeah, you wouldn't think Nintendo would have jumped on this one.
It's like the last franchise
and
I would have ever guessed.
Not even like, you know, there's a naive angel mode in 3 that lets you remove all the nudity and the sexy stuff.
Yep.
Which is funny.
Yeah, so we got a release date trailer, which I'll just fire that off right now so you guys can start watching it. And within this trailer, a bunch of new information and details was revealed on the game. Not the least of which was what Matt just mentioned, which is that this game has a naive angel mode that takes out all the nudity and the suggestive stuff. It was funny how they kind of worded it, actually, if I can find it in my notes here. There was a certain way that they expressed it that was very Japanese. I'll get back to it later.
Yeah.
Oh, you can play in the living room without creating an awkward atmosphere. Is what the Platinum said. Okay, whatever you say.
Sounds more like play with your wife in the room.
Right,
mode.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than playing games like this and having your wife or girlfriend walk in the room.
Well, unless they're into it.
Well, most are not. At least none of mine have been, and maybe only your mother would be more awkward than your wife or your girlfriend. But we have learned a lot more details from this trailer and some of the information that Platinum released along with this trailer. We learned about the plot, honestly. Basically what's happened is the world has been taken over by man-made bioweapons called homunculi, I believe is how you're supposed. Homunculi, that's it, yeah. And you must stop them before reality is wiped out for good.
It's like everything I did in 1 and 2 was for nothing.
Is this reality, Matt, what we're seeing right here? Is this what we're trying to keep from getting wiped out?
Apparently.
Okay.
I mean, it's a pretty cool bar.
Yeah.
I'd like to keep that bar.
And you must find a scientist named Sigurd in order to stop reality from being wiped out for good.
Who's gender swapped Dante over there?
The girl is named Viola. She is a new playable character. She's apparently a witch in training.
We're handing the franchise off, huh?
And she is actually the one... Yeah, exactly, maybe. But she's actually the one who clues in Bayonetta to what is actually going on with the homunculi and needing to find Sigurd or whatever the hell his name is. There's also other supporting cast members that Platinum mentioned. There's a named Rodan, Luca, and Enzo. But this trailer doesn't really share what they do or what role they play inside the game. Another thing, too, is that this trailer features multiple versions of Bayonetta, alternate versions of Bayonetta. And there's a strong hint about the Alphaverse in this. So this is a game that's like set in a metaverse with multiple realities. I should also add that I watched and paid to watch this week Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and I was really disappointed in that movie. I have not, first of all, Matt, I have not paid to watch a movie in I don't know how long. Meaning, like, I wait till it's free on HBO.
Right.
Like, I haven't paid, like, a $6 rental fee or gone to a theater in years. And because all the feedback on that movie was just peerless, unanimous, amazing. And I literally struggled to stay awake watching it.
That's the second best movie I've seen this year.
Yeah, everybody says I liked it.
I bought it on 4K.
Yeah, I could not. I liked it at first, and it just dragged. I felt like that movie could have been 90 minutes easily, and it was 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Like, I'm like, I get it. I understand what's going on at this point. I felt like a lot of the devices that they started using to tell the story got old and ragged and, like, overused. But anyway, so I was surprised by that. But that movie is all about the multiverse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a really good implementation of the multiverse. The multiverse is hot right now because Avengers Endgame made it so you don't need to explain it to people anymore.
Yeah.
Try watching the best movie of the year. I think you'll like that better.
What is it?
That's RRR.
RRR.
It's an Indian action historical musical epic.
Okay.
On Netflix.
Wow. And it's free on Netflix right now?
Yeah.
I will watch it
RRR.
tonight.
It is the best thing I've seen in years.
Wow. Oh, that's high praise coming from you, bro. I will watch it this week, I promise.
It's basically like these two historical figures from the revolution to throw Britain out of India. They never met in real life, but there's a gap where nobody knows what they were doing, and this movie asks, what if they met each other then and became best of bros? That's the movie. That's what that's about. And the one of them is introduced fighting 400 protesters, and the other is introduced fighting a tiger with his bare hands.
Oh. So, wow. Okay.
It's like you're not ready for this movie.
Okay.
As Patrick H. Willems said, if you have an opportunity to see it and you do not see it, you are choosing to live a worse life.
Okay.
So
I'll check it out.
Everyone go watch RRR if you can access it in your country.
Okay. Yep. So as Matt mentioned, family-friendly mode is a big thing. So you'll be able to play this around people without being embarrassed. I really don't give a crap anymore, but some people may. You may live with roommates or your significant other, and you may want to turn that mode on. It does appear that the nudity is like toned down anyway.
I mean, it never really had that much to begin with.
Yeah.
It was more hints of things.
Right. It wasn't like overt.
It was
like
barely a burlesque show.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And she's covered in hair already. It's weird. So is Viola's outfit supposed to be hair too? Is she mimicking?
That we don't know yet.
Is she mimicking leather with hair somehow? Because that's a neat trick.
We don't know that. It doesn't look like it, though.
I feel like that's probably just Bayonetta's thing. Like
yeah.
That's whatever weird thing Bayonetta's doing.
Probably so. What else do I have?
I would love to see a crossover with Dante at some point, though, just to see Dante's reaction to her.
No.
It's like, that's what? Oh, God. Like.
Yep. So they show off some things in this trailer that had not been shown off in prior trailers. For example, they show this crazy spider that initially it looks like Bayonetta's going to fight, but then she mounts it and rides it. So I don't know how prevalent that's going to be in the game. We already know about kaiju battles where you can summon like these virtual kaiju to fight in these battles with other gigantic monsters.
I figure those are like homunculi that you've gained control over somehow.
That's possible. Yeah.
So I imagine the spider is the same.
No, the spider, you actually see her riding on the spider.
I feel like I saw the footage of that. I feel like I'd seen that before I knew about the spider. The spider, because I saw that footage. I'm like, oh right, the spider you can ride for some reason.
I wasn't aware of that until I saw this, but
I don't know why my brain did that. You might be right too. I don't know. Like it's been the information of this game has been spread out so far that I don't remember what I don't know and what I do know at this point.
Well, see, here she transforms into like this gigantic version of herself.
Yeah, she turns into like Butterfly Bayonetta, kind of right. That one, the one quick shot there reminds me of that boss in Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That reminds me of that boss in Ninja Gaiden in the cathedral.
The art in this isn't all that dissimilar from Ninja Gaiden, honestly.
No, there's
also a talking spider. I think is from Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, well, that reminds me of Dante.
So you can see her riding on top of it.
That is a direct. I think that's a direct reference to the first Devil May Cry. Because
you think?
where she does
you're right. There is that spider.
Where she knocks on him. Like, that's what Dante does before that first boss fight. He knocks on the giant spider scorpion thing. He says, I hope you got some power in that big body of yours.
Yeah, you're right.
Before they fight. Like, I think that's a direct Dante reference.
It looks like she tames it.
Yeah, I think
she's like taming it here.
Yeah. Knock, knock. Yeah, I think that's a. I think
now
that's
you
a Devil
can
May
see
Cry
on
reference.
top there, she's riding on top of the spider.
Yeah, you're clearly riding the spider, but like I'm just saying. Like, clearly giant monsters are a big part of this.
Yes. I think we probably could have guessed that before we ever saw a lick of footage from this game. That's just kind of a Bayonetta thing.
Although I will say that Dante could just beat those monsters on his own.
Right.
He wouldn't need to tame a giant spider for that.
Yeah, you can see here's the turret section where you're being chased by a giant monster and you're fighting them off with a turret on a train.
A train with no tracks for some reason. Like, I mean, I'm glad to see they've kept it as wild as Bayonetta generally has been.
It looks like there's one scene too where she holds a beating heart, and I wonder if that's how you actually summon the kaiju.
That could be.
It seems like it. They also mentioned already the install size, 15 gigs on Switch, which is big for a Switch game.
That's a big Switch game.
That's a really big Switch game. Which means, and honestly, Bayonetta games haven't been short in the past. They've always been pretty long.
No, they're good length. I mean, they're a little too long.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
But no, they tend to be like 15 to 20 hours.
Yeah, and it looks like you're probably going to get the same thing here with this one. I mean, it should be how long they've taken to build this damn game. Mm-hmm. I haven't figured out who this guy is yet. Of the three other characters,
say he's from the other game. I want to say he's a returning character.
Oh, really?
Either that, or I might be mixing him up with the bad guy in Final Fantasy 15. I can't tell the difference with anybody anymore.
They do all kind of bleed together. I can understand why you might be confused.
It has been years since I played the Bayonetta games.
It's either Rodan, Luca, or Enzo. It's one of the three. Yeah. How are you feeling about this game now that we're starting to get more information on it and more media on it?
It looks cool. I like kaiju. That's about all I got. I mean, I'll play it. I like the other two, but it's been so long that I don't remember why.
Did you finish Bayonetta 2?
I don't think so.
I didn't.
No, I think I
couldn't make it. I finished the first one.
I finished the first one when it originally came out. I never finished the when they re-released it on Switch. I did not finish that, and I got a fair amount in the Wii U. But then I don't think I ever even played the Bayonetta 2 on Switch.
I didn't play. I played it on Wii U, and I got probably halfway through before I stopped. Something like that. This game is so weird, Matt. Here's the other trailer. Where's the military coming from?
Well, the military. You fight giant monsters. What they do. It's like the first act of every kaiju movie is the military shows up and sucks, and then the real hero has to step in. Usually that real hero is Godzilla.
I'm just saying, how are these people rationalized in the world that we just saw in the new trailer?
Well, this is the beginning before all that happens.
This is the reality. Which is the reality, Matt, that we're trying to keep from disappearing for all time.
Well, this is clearly everything is not messed up yet.
This is what they're trying to say.
This is the beginning. Well, the world.
Okay, so it is a normal world on Earth.
Yeah.
And then this is the beginning where they start breaking through rifts, and then they take over the whole world.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. And then the goal is to restore Earth back to whatever this is.
Fix the multiverse, just like everything now.
Yeah, it kind of is everything right now. Are you more or less excited for this game as we get more information?
I don't know.
I
got to play it. Like, it's going to be all about how it feels to play, and I'll probably feel fine.
My guess is it'll feel really good. Yeah.
I imagine a lot of the delays have been trying to get this thing to run well on the Switch.
Probably.
Because this thing's got to run at 60.
It is ambitious for a Switch game.
There's a lot happening on the screen.
There is, yeah.
But Platinum, you can't release this thing with frame rate chugs.
Nope.
That's not.
I don't think Platinum will.
I would hope not.
And I agree with you. That's probably what has delayed this game for so long, is them getting it so it plays at a speed that they're happy with. That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
But
there comes a time when I'm like, oh, maybe, I don't know, we'll see how it performs and see how it goes, and maybe end up being best to wait for the next Switch to play this on. But
yeah, I'm more excited.
It's a good Halloween game. I'm glad it's making it for Halloween week.
I think if anything, this new media is just jogging my memory of what Bayonetta is, and that's why I'm getting more excited for it, because it feels like it had been gone for quite a while, and maybe, I don't know, the aesthetics.
It's been forever.
Yeah, I guess it has been forever. So it's just kind of jogging my memory of what this franchise is all about, and it's reminding me that it's pretty flippin' awesome, and I should be probably excited for the new one. So,
and I'm happy to see, like, this is more interesting to me than another Angel Demon thing. Like, I get bored with the weird anime take
the convoluted
on like Western Judeo-Christian mythology and stuff. It's just like, okay, great, everybody's got a metal halo, cool. This is more interesting. At least it's a departure from the usual Angel Demon thing. There's a lot more creativity on display. Yeah, there's where I saw the.
That's
spider
why you
before.
saw the spider. Where you saw the spider before.
It's even got a scorpion tail, like the one in Devil May Cry.
It does.
That might be the Devil May Cry spider, for all we know.
It might. It absolutely might. But anyway, it's coming out.
It's a
on October
multiverse.
28th.
You might have pulled that in from the Devil May Cry universe. We don't know.
That would be crazy.
That would be pretty great.
That actually would be great.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah, me too. Again, that's coming October 28th, just in time for Halloween, just in time for me to get back from Greece. And it is a Switch exclusive, and it will likely stay that way forever. So if you don't have one, you're probably never going to play Bayonetta 3, because I think Nintendo paid for the development of this game.
Yeah, or if you have Dolphin. I mean,
I wasn't going to say it, but you can.
that is probably the best way to play it in terms of performance, I would imagine.
Let's be honest. And honestly, if you own Bayonetta 3, if you own the card,
Yeah.
I'm okay with you using an emulator to play
You
it.
own a Switch, why not?
Yeah.
Like,
is it actually technically illegal if you own the game to play it on Dolphin?
No.
Yeah, I think you're covered legally there.
yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
Especially if you do your own ROM dump, you're just backing up your own software at that
right.
point.
Yeah.
Like, just don't download it from the internet.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, that's where you get in trouble. So anyway, that's Bayonetta 3 coming to Switch exclusively October 28th. Let's move along. We're going to talk next. When I first thought about having this topic in GameFace, I wanted to just discuss PlayStation's new loyalty program. But what I realized when I started thinking about it was that it is, once again, imitating something that the other two guys have already done. And then I started thinking to myself, has PlayStation ever innovated on anything? And it really took me a long time to think of anything that PlayStation had ever innovated on. Now, one thing I will say that PlayStation does well is it takes the ideas of others and makes them better, typically. But I really struggle to think of something that PlayStation did first. Disc-based console.
I mean, there had been disc-based consoles, but
there had been a 3DO. Yeah.
I think they were the first to see 3D was the future to focus the
Saturn.
hardware. No, Saturn was not a 3D console. Saturn was a 2D console with some 3D hardware bolted on top of it once they saw what the PlayStation was.
But it still had 3D games.
It did, but it was not built for that. The
Yeah.
3D on the Saturn is extremely weak, and this is speaking as someone who's a giant Saturn fan. There was no 3D capability on the Saturn to speak of because they were basically making a Super Genesis, and then they saw what PlayStation was going to be and realized that was the future and bolted some rudimentary 3D stuff onto it, and that's why the 3D on the Saturn's so weak, but it's there because they saw the competition was going to be that. The Saturn, if they had been left alone by Sony, if Sony had not entered the race, the Saturn was basically going to be a Super 2D machine, probably up against the N64 Super 3D machine.
But wait, I thought Nintendo announced a 3D console first.
No.
I thought the Nintendo 64 was actually announced before the PlayStation.
They talked about the Ultra 64, but that was arcade hardware.
Ultra 64 was the N64.
It
Literally,
was, but when they
launched.
talked about it, it was their arcade board. It was the Killer Instinct arcade board. Eventually, leaks and stuff became clear that the Ultra stuff was actually the basis for the next console.
No, Matt. There are prototypes of the N64 where it is literally on the console Ultra 64.
Right, but that's the code name.
It was only named to Nintendo 64 like a couple months before it launched.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying no one knew that Nintendo's console was going to be that before PlayStation made their move to announce. PlayStation and N64 were basically, they call it Ultra 64, but we knew about the Ultra 64 chipset earlier than the PlayStation only because it was also the arcade board they used for Killer Instinct. That was earlier.
I don't think that's true, Matt.
That is 100% what happened. I was there.
I was there.
Yeah, because
I was running an N64 website.
But this was like 94. You know, the Ultra 64 stuff was before that because Killer Instinct was out before the N64. They went through 2 Killer Instincts before the N64
Okay,
came
so
out.
anyway, that hardware would have been developed before PlayStation.
That was even parallel, but nobody saw a cartridge-based system as it was even then.
My point is that we're really stretching trying to give 3D gaming to PlayStation is my point. Because everybody was working on it. It was just a matter of who got it done first.
I think the credit you give them there is that they were first. I mean, I guess technically Saturn was first, but that was only because they rushed it and that tanked the Saturn. But they were first, and also in the sense that, the PlayStation came out of the thing they were working on with Nintendo. So the Ultra 64 was an offshoot of what they were already working on. We're no longer working on with Sony. So Sony at least knew that they had to stick with the 3D and that they had to stick with the CD. Nintendo realized you had to stick with the 3D, but they did not stick with the CD. And so Sony had the vision to know that those two things together were the future. And then I'm kind of out of ideas.
Here's the only
I will say this, though. I would argue it doesn't matter. Because, as I've said over and over and over...
You're not a fan of innovation.
I'm a fan of innovation, but I do not think innovation is valuable in and of itself. And if you disagree with me, ask Sega. Because they were first on all this shit, and they died. And
yeah, but
Dreamcast being the first online console did not do the Dreamcast any favors. The Sega CD being the first CD console, and none of that helps.
We're not talking about them doing favors to the people who created it. We're talking about it doing favors to us, the game players, and to the industry at large. Like Nintendo putting an analog stick default onto its Nintendo 64 console. Nintendo 64 ended up distant second to PlayStation, but you can't deny that it completely changed the industry. And a year and a half later, PlayStation suddenly has analog sticks on its controller, and now that's just the way we play games. So that's why I value innovation. It's not because I think that the person or the company that innovates is going to get rewarded for it. It's for the ripple effects that come later for the players and for the rest of the industry to help them make better games and for us to enjoy games more.
But what I'm saying is, like, as often as not, when you do that, you get punished for it.
Yeah.
Because the first iteration of something tends to be not great.
Yeah. I mean that's the innovator's dilemma.
I mean,
is that most times
remember,
someone else is going to make all the money off of your idea.
Remember, Sega was the first one with an analog stick.
Yeah. Was it analog, though, or it was just a stick?
No, the analog stick for the Knights controller.
Was it actually like you could...
That was an analog controller.
It was analog?
That was a full analog stick.
I thought it was on and off.
Nope. That was a full analog stick.
I didn't remember that.
And it was like 3 months before the N64.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it was all right there up against itself, right? But technically, Sega was first with the CD. Sega was first with a lot of the 3D stuff. Sega was first with a 16-bit system. Sega was first with online play built into the console. Sega was first with a lot. They had Satellaview. They had the online. You could download games to play through subscription, Game Pass style, on the Genesis.
Yeah.
But it didn't help them.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Always way ahead. But Sony, on the other hand, sits there like a vulture and waits until they're like, okay, that works.
They let other people succeed or fail with the idea, and then look. One thing I will say is that there's also a skill, I hate to admit it, there is a skill in taking the ideas of others and making them better.
Because how many people are going to remember Sega did all that stuff?
Right.
They don't. They just remember the PlayStation. I
mean, I didn't remember that the Saturn had a real analog stick. I literally thought it was just
you had to buy the controller separate.
Fake D-pad.
No. You had to buy the analog controller, that big circle thing that you had to buy with Knights. That was a real analog stick.
Okay.
It was not a good analog stick, but it was a real analog stick. They also had the analog triggers for the first time, the Dreamcast, which broke all the time. But
there is one thing that PlayStation did.
Sega was ahead of stuff all the time, and it just didn't matter.
It didn't matter. Well, it's because in the end of the day, what matters is the software.
Right.
That you use.
None of that mattered in the face of the fact you couldn't buy Madden on the Dreamcast. Innovation, my ass.
Yeah, but NFL 2K did pretty well.
NFL 2K was great.
Now, one thing I do think that PlayStation innovated on is remote play. Can you think of any other company that did remote play where you used your handheld to control games on the go from your console at home?
Oh, from that? No. But I also would never want to do that. So,
but still, it is technically innovation, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes innovation is stupid.
Yeah.
I also think of Nintendo's brief obsession with plugging the Game Boy Advance into the GameCube.
Connectivity.
Connectivity. Not connectivity. Connectivity. They were very precise about what the emphasized syllable was. I thought that was...
Yeah. Plugging the GBA into the GameCube was something Nintendo pushed for a long time.
Everybody had a Game Boy, so everybody had to have a cable, and now you could play Pac-Man Versus or Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicle. Yeah. finally you can get together with your friends and make one of them carry a magic vase for the whole game.
Well, I think it was Space World in 2000 or 2001. I can't remember which year it was. But they had Kirby Tilt and Tumble there.
Right.
And the way it was set up was you would play it on the GBA. And if he would fall off the world in the GBA, he would fall into the world on the GameCube. Yeah. And I think they ended up releasing Kirby Tilt and Tumble on its own, and it had none of that stuff in it.
Yeah, if I recall, that was just a GBA game.
Yeah,
like you just played.
Ultimately, it
had like the gyro in the cartridge,
right?
And you just play it like that.
Yep. Yeah. So Nintendo tried to innovate kind of in the same space, but ultimately, no. But
they always
really
had the problem where it was like, no one cares. Like there was always, there were a lot of solutions in search of problems there. Although I think like the idea is cool, and especially because you are
Pac-Man Versus was amazing.
Pac-Man Versus great,
but it was like one application.
Yeah, it was one thing, and really what it came down to was how much work it took to get it all set up. It was like everybody's got to get the cables, and everybody's got to sit a certain distance from the GameCube because they're all tethered, and like the cables weren't long enough. But it was fun. It was fun. It just wasn't quite Rock Band.
Yeah. This guy, by the way, is from almost like 10 miles away from where I'm from in Pennsylvania. I found out like not that long ago. He's from like Harrisburg, PA, and I'm from Carlisle. They're literally 10 miles apart. I'm like, what a small world it is.
So there's just something.
What's his name? Sid or something?
I don't remember his name. But is there something about the environment there that leads to that hair?
Yeah, I don't know.
You got the same haircut.
Oh, that's funny. The other thing that I would argue
is the coal. It's the coal mining. Makes it dark.
There's no coal mining in Pennsylvania. That's West Virginia. Yeah, that's a different state.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think...
swear there was coal in Pennsylvania somewhere.
Not really. No.
What does Pennsylvania do?
Amish.
That's your major resource?
Amish.
Is the Amish?
Steel. In Pittsburgh, it was steel back in the 70s and 80s. Here's something else that I think PlayStation innovated on, and it's hard to find things, but I think the haptic feedback on the DualSense controller is innovative. Mm-hmm. But again, it's another... We're taking the ideas of others, and we're implementing on it and iterating on it and making it better. But otherwise, it's really hard to find anything that PlayStation has innovated on.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say that, like, it's not that hard to find innovators. Someone will always try to do something first to stand out. I much more value the people who perfect things.
Fire Native says, Sony made the Knack series, so that should be good enough. Sneaky says, the iToy paved the way for Kinect. Did it?
Maybe, but, like, who wants to claim credit for that? iToy.
But I think that's where we're at, though, as far as, like...
I mean, see, that's what you get when Sony innovates, is that. is that stupid card game thing that I was stuck watching for 20 minutes on that E3 stage that one time. Like, that press conference where they spent 20 minutes... What was that called? Eye of Destruction or something like that?
Yeah, or Eye of Judgment.
Eye of Judgment.
Yeah, that card game, that augmented reality card game, That was kind of innovative for the time.
That was ahead of its time, but again, no one cared.
No one cared, yeah. It does always seem to be the guy that iterates that ends up being successful with stuff over and over and over again in our industry. It seems to work out that way. I mean, it's...
Direct line from the iToy to the HoloLens.
So. People for whatever reason, people who love games do not go out of their way to support the guy that does it first. Mm-hmm. They just don't. It's interesting.
Well, because in terms of software design and engineering, usually the one that comes first isn't that good.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to support them for? I
mean, Labo is a good example of that.
Sure.
Crazy innovative, but it sucks.
Who cares?
So who can connect? Another good example of it. Mm-hmm. Crazy, kind of innovative, but sucks. Nobody wants to use it.
Yep.
So it's interesting, but you still need the progenitor. You still need the first person to do something so that everyone else can iterate on it. So thank God for those companies that are willing to stick their necks out and try these things so that they become better on down the road. If we didn't have those people, who knows where our industry would be? If we didn't have Nintendo, think about all the stuff that Nintendo has innovated over the years, just over and over and over and over again, just time and again. It keeps coming up with new ideas and has the guts, or in some people would argue, the stupidity to put them out.
I would more say
the
stupidity.
I mean, it did finally pull back on the vitality sensor.
Yeah,
that's where it decided to draw the line.
Yeah, that was where the line was. Wii Music wasn't it, but this was... I mean, look, as an old school Sega fan, like I can't really get behind that idea too much because it sounds too much like sending these people to their deaths.
Yeah,
So like, it's like, hey, I love Sega and everything they were making, and I don't get that anymore really because they innovated too much and died.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, innovation kind of blows if you're the person doing it.
Swanland brings up that the 3DS had those crazy.
You of all people should recognize that having built this website.
No, you're right. Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking when we first started discussing this. I'm like, oftentimes the person who does it first,
like you're gonna shut Sifted down at some point, and then like a year later, someone's gonna like make another version of it, and it's gonna be the new. Like,
I know.
I almost call it the new Fark.com. How fucking dated? How fucking dated is that reference?
That's dated.
What the hell is wrong?
Well, then
with me?
Sifted would be the Fark.
Yeah.
In that case.
And you versus the Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right. I know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to come along because the idea is brilliant. Like, who doesn't want control of their social media feed? Who does not want to say F you to the algorithm and say, I'm going to take control of that. And I want to decide what I see on my social media network. I'll be honest with you, Matt. It's jaw-dropping to me that no one has approached me to buy Sifted. Like IGN or GameSpot. GameSpot needs to do something. Because literally, we're running the games channel on Sifted with 2 people.
Yeah.
So think about that. If you blew Sifted up to what it should be, which covers politics and sports and all these different things, you need 1 or 2 people on each one of those. This scales so cheaply. Yeah,
if you blow that easily. If you blow that up to IGN size and call it like the feed,
right?
Like that's that future thing where everyone gets their information through one.
It's gonna crush me.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen someday.
Yep.
And I'm gonna be the guy that they talked about. That like maybe 2% of the people that use the new thing is gonna realize.
It's gonna be like when like Nintendo and Sega were like duking it out in the 16-bit when they were huge, and people would like interview Nolan Bushnell.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, you made Pong, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yep. Doesn't help you when I'm looking at Sonic the Hedgehog, does it?
Yeah. I'm there, dude. I understand it. But you're right. I'm living it. And I'm gonna live it probably for the rest of my life. What happens to a lot of other innovators. And sadly,
you are Sega.
Sadly, that's just kind of the way the world works. To get a little more specific on this new program from PlayStation, it's called PlayStation Stars. It launches later in 2022. Basically, it's just a rewards program where you get rewards for stuff just for doing things you normally would be doing anyway. You earn rewards by completing a variety of campaigns and activities. There's a monthly check-in campaign, which requires you to play any game to receive a reward, while other campaigns will require you to win tournaments, earn specific trophies, or be the first player to unlock a platinum trophy for a major title in your local time zone. That could get pretty big, I think.
That's going to happen in hours.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the race is going to be on for people to get. I mean, just look at I am shocked at how many people care about platinum trophies and like go and try to get platinum trophies.
Well, I think one of the only things that I think has helped keep the trophy and achievement thing relevant is that they started putting the percentage of players who have them on them.
Right.
And that's the instant, because it used to be comparing the trophies to people on your friends list, which is now almost impossible to do because it's buried 14 button presses in the UI. But now when you can look and be like, oh, only like 0.01% of people have this trophy, I'm going to go for that. Like, that's the incentive now. It's comparing yourself to the whole world.
Yep.
And every once in a while, it's weird to see what people do and don't have in games. It's like or when you can like kind of hit a point you're like where you start keep unlocking. If a game's been out for a while. And you get to a point where, like, all of a sudden, like, you were unlocking story trophies and they were, like, 60%, 80%, and now they're, like, 30%. You're like, oh, this is where everybody stopped playing, like this chapter.
Yeah.
That's always interesting. It's an interesting, like, bit of telemetry to get. But I could see that being, like, a competition between, like, essentially platinum trophy speed runners on Twitch. I'm sure they do that already, but now if you're competing for actual recognition on the PlayStation OS or on that PlayStation
globally,
network, like that's a thing.
It's a big deal. Yep.
It's a big deal to a certain people.
True. Yeah. Members will also be able to earn loyalty points, which can be redeemed in a catalog that may include PlayStation Network wallet funds and select PlayStation Store products. PlayStation Plus members enrolled in PlayStation Stars will automatically earn points for purchases on PlayStation Store. The PlayStation Store will also offer digital collectibles, which are digital representations of things that PlayStation fans enjoy, such as figurines of characters, blah, blah, blah. And the big important thing here that they even bothered to mention, because they needed to, is that they are not NFTs. It's odd. It's funny that we're at a place where they needed to mention that in the official press release for PlayStation Stars. What do you think about this in general?
Considering what the NFT thing has done to GameStop
Right.
in the last week or so, sales down 93%. 93%. Don't get in NFTs, kids.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
Holy, that's bad.
Unbelievable. Like
What is its stock price at now?
I don't
Is
know.
the whole Wall Street
It's
Bets
all-
thing over now? It's
yeah.
all done?
Oh, that was long. Yeah. This is everyone's just deciding what to do with the corpse at this point.
Yeah. Isn't there kind of a similar thing going on with AMC right now? That's still happening, I think.
A little bit, but I'm not too familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I think it was a similar.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of people trying to short it or whatever.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, though. I don't know what happened since then.
I think the AMC thing's still happening. I think it still hasn't resolved itself or whatever the way GameStop did. What do you think about this new PlayStation Stars program, Matt? Does it hold anything for you that you're interested in?
No.
Like, you're not going to race people to the Platinum Trophy or anything.
It's like the games with gold. I guess that is games with gold now. It's like the weird daily quest thing.
Yeah.
And Nintendo has their rewards thing.
They all do, yeah.
I don't care.
I'm constantly getting emails from Nintendo and Xbox like, you earned all these points.
But you
and
earn
I'm
all
like,
these points. It's like, okay, I trading all these points, 1,000 points for like 5 cents off something.
or for like a
Who
button.
cares?
Yeah, I don't care. Like, you have to make it something worthwhile. And I do not see anything in this program that's alluring to me.
No.
Nothing. I'm not going to race people to a Platinum Trophy. I don't think I have a single Platinum Trophy.
I have a number of Platinum trophies, but they took me a while.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't think I have any. Like, none.
What do I have? I have the Spider-Mans, and I have God of War, and I think the Shadow of the Colossus collection, the remaster of that, and I have...
You don't stumble upon Platinum Trophies.
No, you got to work for
You
it.
got to work for them. You have to, like, do research and,
Ghost of Tsushima, I have the Platinum for that. Yeah, but it has to be a game I really or Horizon Zero Dawn.
Games that you really
Games I really,
like.
really like.
Yeah. Like,
I want to get everything out of.
Yeah. Like, do I care if I get a little digital figurine? I don't.
No.
I don't care at all.
Also, because there's no way. Who cares? Like, no one's ever going to see it.
There
is no way. I never look at people's profiles. I never look at someone else's avatar on Xbox or anything like that. Like, no, I don't know what anyone's doing. Like,
really, the only thing that matters to me
there's no community to
the
it.
discounts. But to your point, you have to buy like 20 games and then you get like $1 off like a game. It's like, it's not worth following or tracking. I get if you're a little kid and to you $1 is like $1 million. Like, okay, fine.
I mean, not today.
Yeah, not anymore.
Maybe when we were kids.
Not right now. But kids don't understand money, and they think $5 is they're rich or whatever.
Kids' allowances now are like $40 a week or something.
I wonder what they are actually.
I'm like, what the? Like,
I never got an allowance.
I used to mow lawns for quarters.
I would mow a lawn that took me all day. I would start at 9 a.m. I would get done at 6 p.m. when I was like 12, and it took everything I had just to push that mow. I'd get $10 for
Uphill.
a whole day's work cutting grass.
And that lawn was uphill both ways.
I just kept going from one house to the next, straight up the mountain. So yeah, to me, this PlayStation Stars thing, I don't even understand why it's really doing it. It really does just feel
feels like because the others are doing
exactly.
it.
It feels like that's the only reason.
The PlayStation Plus giving away games.
Yeah.
Like the Game Pass thing. Like Sony's
it's
putting
like
all,
the lower third says, follow the leader.
Sony's putting all this stuff in place in case it becomes the new hotness and they need it there.
Yeah,
That's all.
It's funny. PlayStation is always following the leader, and then it becomes the leader by following the leader.
And by doing it better.
Yeah, and by doing it better. However, in this case, I don't know that is true.
No, it doesn't look like anything different than what. Yeah. Who knows what they'll do in the next few years?
Yeah, but as of right now,
they might have some ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
But as of right now,
or maybe Nintendo has some ideas, and then Sony will be like, "Oh, let's do that, but with this," and then everyone's like, "Oh, that's great! I've never seen that before," because you're not paying attention. Yeah. That's the other thing. Is like there's a weird balance between like to make these programs really effective, you need to be a little more in your face about what they are and like that you can do them and take advantage of them and what they have. But also, if you are more in your face than they are right now, you're just going to annoy people.
Yeah.
So there's like a lose-lose situation there where like if you do it too much, it feels like spam. But if you don't do it enough, nobody knows it's there.
Yeah.
I forget it's there all the time. Yeah, every once in a while I'll play something on the Xbox and be like, oh, your daily quest is returning. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And every once in a while I remember that's where there's like a icon for that. And I turn in, it's like, you turned in 435 daily quests because I haven't opened the app since like 2021.
You've never done it.
It's just it's just building.
That's what would have happened to me.
Yeah,
I guarantee
like,
it.
oh wow, I got 20 cents off. Neat.
All that, you're right, for 20 cents. It's not worth it. So
Nintendo's rewards, where you get the coins for buying things on their website, like, that is a better reward system because those coins are worth actual.
But that
discounts.
used to be better than it is now.
That too, yeah.
Like when it first started, I actually redeemed stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I got a lot of cool collectible stuff from that. Now
I
I don't
too.
even pay attention to it anymore.
And some of that collectible stuff used to be really valuable because
Yeah,
you could
it
just turn
probably
around and
still
sell
is.
it because you can only get it through
You
that.
can only get it through that system. Yeah, like the Mario hat. Remember?
Mario hat. There was like a Zelda statue. There's
tons of
stuff that was like super valuable.
Like
and
I
now
still
it's
have
just
a lot
like,
of it. I still have like little suede bags that hold like your
I have a little
3DS
up in
and
this
like,
little plastic control. It's like a Hanafuda set. It was like an anniversary Hanafuda set
those cards
because that's what Nintendo was
started
founded to do. Was to make those cards.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but I like I'm not going to like a lot of weird Nintendo tchotchkes like that, but like that was cool because it was like a reference to Nintendo's origin, and I thought that was neat. It's like, but they
even
don't have anything
Nintendo
like
was
that
like,
anymore.
whoa, let's pull back on this a little bit. It's
Yeah,
like,
wait a minute, you guys like this a little too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened, and so it pulled back, and so now all the programs are just, I think, forgettable and not worth.
No, I'd agree with that. I look through sometimes, and be like, oh, what is it? No, I don't care. Like, this dumb.
Yeah.
Or if it's like I get through like 3 layers of screens and I still don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I'm done. I don't care. I don't need to know that.
Yeah, because you had to.
If it was good, you'd tell me sooner.
Well, it's crazy too because like you'd buy a Nintendo game and it would come with a code printed on like the instruction manual.
Go redeem this now.
And then you go to Nintendo Rewards and plunk your little code in there and get your reward points, and then you had to get so many before a cutoff.
Right.
Like to get the Mario hat. You had to get X number of coins.
It was like one per annual. It's like every year there's different
which could
rewards.
convince people to like, oh, I'm like 10 coins short of getting that Mario hat. I need to go buy a game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go buy a cheap 3DS game that has
right
the code
to get that
in it.
code.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately.
That's how you motivate people.
Yeah.
That's also when you can go buy games in stores.
Swanless says they need to make the points go towards limited physical stuff you can collect to make it worthwhile. Yeah, like the old Club Nintendo. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He says he got a sweet Zelda puzzle. Yeah, I think all of us got a pretty cool something from Nintendo back then.
A few things. I have this one. I can't remember what it is. It's like a big grid of Mario things or something. I don't want it, but I've had it for years, and I can't find anyone to buy it. I was like, get this thing out of here.
Danny asks, have you ever finished a Telltale game? I finished a lot of them.
Yeah, I finished several of them.
Yeah, I don't know why he's asking that.
I don't know.
Maybe because you get a platinum just for finishing a Telltale game?
Oh, yeah. Usually the platinums on Telltales are not difficult.
Oh. I don't have any platinum, so I've checked my trophies before. So.
You can go. I think you can go back and just very quickly make the other decisions in Telltale games, and then that's pretty much all you can do to get the platinum for those.
Yeah. Vincent says Nintendo still does send you physical stuff today.
I think, they do. It's just not nearly as cool as what they used to.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like that Zelda puzzle and the...
There's tons of cool stuff.
Yeah, there was
and
a lot
stuff
of
you
neat
could
stuff.
only get. They put like controllers up there that you could only get through that system.
Yeah, now you just can't get them at all because they sell out in 5 seconds.
Exactly. So anyway, there you go. That's PlayStation Star's loyalty program launching later this year. Both Matt and I are saying don't get too worked up about it because it's not really.
I mean, I guess if you want to, you can. But like,
it's just going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Just let it happen.
Just let it happen.
Maybe eventually something good will come out of it.
Yeah, just who knows?
Yeah.
Who's it gonna hurt? Come on.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic. If you like animals, today's GameFace is for you. Because we are talking about animals on GameFace 308.
Animals.
So we already talked about Stray, which is an awesome game about a cat. And we're going to talk about a game where you play as a fox. It is called Extinction is Forever. You play, the game starts, and I'll just get the B-roll running here so you guys can follow along. The game starts, you are a fox on the run. The woods around you are burning down, and you're looking for safe.
And right above you is the indie font, so you know it's going to be bad.
You are running from a forest fire, and you're looking for a safe haven to get into. You finally do find one, and you give birth to a set of cubs. And once you give birth to the cubs, it is your job, obviously.
Does the game call them cubs?
I believe.
Because the baby foxes are kits.
Are they kits? I don't
As far
remember.
as I know.
Actually, I don't remember what they call them.
I don't know.
I'm just saying that.
Now that I see this game, I know I've seen the trailer or something. But when you were talking about this earlier, I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Oh, really?
I did not remember this at all.
This is also just
because this is kind of I'd be interested in this too.
This just came out today.
Okay.
So I actually got early review code of this to play it before today's show, and the embargo is today. So the timing actually worked out perfect. But anyway, you play as a fox, and eventually you escape the forest fire, and you find a safe spot where you give birth to your kits. Is that what they're called? Foxes?
As far as I know, baby foxes are called kits.
Okay.
Yes.
You give birth to a bunch of kits, and at that moment, you can actually choose their colors. And I'll just tell you right now, don't blow this off. Because you have to protect these cubs. And if you color your cubs dark, it eventually can, at certain points, can be very hard to spot the cubs on screen. And the cubs can die. And the cubs will be attacked by predators. And it's not obvious when your cubs are being attacked by predators. And so if you color your cubs a bright color where they stick out in the natural backgrounds, you're more likely to pick up on the fact that your offspring are being attacked, and you're more likely to save them. I am speaking from personal experience because one of my cubs died. I did not even know it was killed. I had no idea. The way the game works is you are the mama fox, and you're trying to take care of your cubs. Now, your cubs, when you first start the game, they all stay in the den. And I know I keep calling them cubs. I'm sorry about that. They stay in the den. You have to go out and find food for them and then bring it back to them so that they can eat and stay alive. Well, after you do that for a handful of days, they start leaving the den with you and start traveling with you as the fox. But you still have to do the same stuff. You still need to make sure that you're feeding them. Now, it is nice to not have to run all the way back to the den to feed them, once you get past that first week. But it presents a whole other set of dangers, meaning that they are now out and about, and people want to kill them. And I mean people, literally, people want to kill them, not just predators. Because this game, as you can see by the lower third, has an ecological message. And if you haven't picked up on it already by watching the first 2 minutes of the footage, it starts with a forest fire and then leads to man infringing upon the wildlands that foxes need to survive and thrive. And that is a big message in this game. So eventually it's not just predators that are trying to kill your offspring. It's the humans, the people who are at these sites, running the operations, the farmers that you come across.
Man is in the forest.
Yes, because
let's dig out.
Because they're taking over the forest. So as they're logging and setting up all these other environmental disasters in the area that you can safely roam it shrinks and becomes smaller. And I will say this, Matt, there have been tons of games that have tried to send an ecological message that sticks with you. And I'll be honest with you, we have friends who made, what was the PlayStation VR game? Jupiter and Mars. Our friends made that game.
Oh, the dolphin game.
Yeah, James Milkey and Sam Kennedy made that game. They're good friends of ours that we've known in the industry for 20 years. And I played the game and I enjoyed it, but ultimately the ecological message
Hold
didn't...
X to give birth, huh?
Yeah, this is the birth right here. So I enjoyed playing that game, but the ecological message did not stick with me. This one did, because it is embedded into the game so heavily. And as the game goes on, they start infringing more and more on your land, so you get squeezed out. So this is your first den that you get in the game. And you use this den probably for the first hour and a half of the game. But what happens is, over time, man starts infringing on the area around the den, and you get shoved out, and you have to journey way afar from the den to find a new den. And then you get that den, and slowly over time, again, mankind starts infringing. They start building stuff around the den. It starts to get to the point where every time you leave the den, there's a human walking around, and the humans will kill you, literally kill you. They'll shoot you with a gun. They'll beat you to death. They'll pick up your offspring and throw them down. It's pretty burly. Again, if animals getting hurt bothers you, I would argue this game is probably the one you want to stay away from, because it's real. And these little puppies, they die. There was one time, I didn't even realize that one of my offspring had died. And I was running along and I saw this icon pop up. It turns out an owl had flown out of a tree and was killing one of my kits. So I had to run over and attack the owl and get the owl off, and then the kit was injured, and you have to go through this process once they're injured to get them back to health so that they can run at full speed again, because then they're vulnerable, because that's the way the wild works. If you're vulnerable, you're in trouble out in the wild.
Endling.
And so it's Endling, Extinction is Forever. As you play this game, you start to understand what it's like for wildlife whose forests are being destroyed by capitalism, basically. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And so it just keeps pounding the point home because it becomes harder to play the game because of what's happening to the environment around the foxes. It's powerful. I'll be honest with you. Now, the way the game plays, and now you're getting to see kind of how it actually plays, like on a day-to-day basis, you play it by day. So you have a timer. And when the timer for the day ticks down, you start to become exhausted. And your pups start to starve because you have to keep feeding them. There's 2 meters. See the meter just in the middle of the lower third there. It has like the 4 dog heads and then the green meter. The green meter is their hunger meter. So you have to constantly go out and hunt. And you hunt for fish in ponds and lakes. You hunt for rabbits that hide in like those haystacks. And as the fox, you have mechanics that help you do that. So you have a scent. You can smell the prey. And it will show you, they're almost like waypoints in the game. There's different colored ones. So a green scent trail is basically an enemy that you can find and eat. Then there are like fuchsia colored ones, and they actually take you to the parts of the map that move the plot forward and will ultimately result in humans moving closer to your den and things like that. So you're seeing a green one right now. That's leading the fox to food. Once you find the food, you have mechanics to actually hunt. So you have like an ability to sneak, and you have the ability to smell. And if you sneak up close enough and then you hit the attack button, you'll jump into the haystack that has the enemy in it, and you'll literally bite the rabbit or the rat or whatever it is, jump out of the haystack, and at first you have to take it back to the den, but then after a while your cubs start to follow you, and you just drop it on the ground and they eat. So not only can the baby foxes die, not only can you, the mother fox, die, you're killing other critters to keep your offspring alive as well. So again, if animals dying bothers you, this is definitely not... Well, there you can see. I just jumped in there. I think that's a rat. And now I have to return it all the way back to the lair. The day meter did show up as kind of like an arc. And when it gets to the end and it's like the day's over, you don't die. And there is kind of a lot of leeway as far as that's concerned. The cubs can die, though. The offspring can die back in the den if you don't get the food back to them quick enough. So you have to kind of monitor them. Over time, your kits, your pups, start to learn skills. So the first skill that you learn is jump, or that they learn is jump. And that'll let them jump over gaps, and they'll be able to follow you places that they weren't able to follow you before. Eventually, they learn how to slide in through like thin cracks. I think there's 5 or 6 skills total that they eventually learn over time. And it does matter which of the pups learn the skills, because if one dies and it has all the skills, suddenly you've lost your ability to traverse large parts of the level. So the game is basically on rails. As you can see, you can't free run through the wilderness. You're on a track, and there are diverging paths where you go one direction or another, and there's a map screen that you can go to that will show you where I guess what I would call trigger points on the map, basically areas that you need to visit that will fire off a cutscene and move the story forward and ultimately lurch the game forward itself. There are memories that you have to discover. So very early on in the game, one of your offspring gets taken by a human. And really the big overarching goal of the game, other than keeping the other ones alive, is finding the one that was taken. And there's a different color scent marker for that. And basically what that does is it takes you to these places where you relive these memories. You can see where your pup was taken, who took them, what was happening. And those also serve to move the plot forward. Once you get, they're grouped into, 3 memories at a time. And there's, there's an interface of nodes, basically, that you have to complete to finish the game. Each node is 3 memories. And there's probably, 10 or 12 nodes total. So you have to discover these points where you see these kind of holograms play out of what happened, where the pup went, who has the pup, etc. Now, not everybody in this game is a bad guy. You'll come across people who will feed you. They'll give you apples. you discover this house that is mostly comprised of the people who have been trying to kill you, but there's a little girl there, and the little girl loves the baby foxes. And so if you can find her when she's away from the other people, she will also feed you. She'll open up new areas of the map for you. So you do have some allies that kind of work with you as you try to rescue your lost offspring. I love this game. It is powerful. There have been some moments in this game that literally like shook me. Discovering, now I will say this, discovering that one of the pups had died and I didn't even know it was quite the eye-opener. I was like, wait a minute, because what happened was one of the dog head icons on the bottom, like, grayed out. And I noticed that first, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I left the pup somewhere, because you can leave them behind to adventure places that they can't get to. Now you need to go back, and this game also has a bark option. And in this game, unlike the meow in Stray, if you use the bark in this, it calls the pups. They will come meet you at that point, if they can. If you're in a place where they can actually traverse and get to you with the skills that they have and blah, blah, blah. But so it's kind of like Pikmin's whistle to get them all together. You can use the howl or the dog bark in this to get them to come back to you. So I thought that, like, oh, I just left a pup out there and now I need to go out and get him. No, the pup was dead, unfortunately. And I don't know, honestly, I have not finished this yet. I don't know what happens if you lose all of them. I don't know if it starts
nothing
over.
Nothing good, I would think.
But if the mama fox gets killed, and there's like a lot of this game is stealth also. This is them stealing the one pup, by the way. They use like a toy. They throw it in the den to draw the pup out, and then they snag the pup. But, and now I lost my train of thought about what I was talking about before that. But this game is basically for every platform. It is out today. It is also $30. I've already got my $30 out of this game. It is worth every penny, I believe. Again, if you're in, and here's what I was talking about. These are like the memories that you see throughout the game. That if you have to discover these in order for the plot to move forward. But it's $30. It's available for pretty much everything. If you're an animal lover, there are some tough moments in this. I'm not going to lie. But I think those moments help with the impact of the good stuff that happens, if that makes sense. Yeah, you kind of need the bad to appreciate the good, if that makes sense. But I've really, really enjoyed this game. And again, it is available for everything. Do you have any questions about it, Matt?
Not really. It seems pretty straightforward. I mean, other than like you'd be getting into spoilers at that point.
Yeah.
It seems cool.
This is Stray now is probably the best indie game I've played this year so far, but this is right up there. This is going to definitely be in my mind in my Game of the Year awards when I'm thinking about best indie game of the year. Now, again, some people may be put off by the lack of movement. It does play a lot like a typical adventure game in a lot of ways, because again, you're on like a predetermined path. You can choose which way you run, but not really.
It kind of reminds me of like a Vanillaware game.
Yeah, a little bit. That's kind of a good way to put it. Now, you'll get chased by humans, and it is intense because there are certain parts of this in the map where you have to like dig to get under a log, or you have to dig to get under a fence or whatever. And so when you're running away from the humans that are chasing you, and they have like an axe, and like they get to you and they hack you with the axe. Like, it's not like, I don't know if kids should probably play this game, honestly.
I don't know, man. I grew up watching Watership Down. And
yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Evil Dead, so... But
yeah, animal cruelty was a basic plot point in kids' movies when we were kids.
There are some parents who may not want their kids to experience stuff like this. So I'm just giving a full warning to people who are watching this who have kids, that there's stuff like that in the game. And actually, I now remember what I was going to talk about earlier. There's a lot of stealth in this game. So the humans with guns, like a lot of times there will be like a roundabout that you need to navigate. And the human with the gun will be in the center of the roundabout. And you are on the fringe. And he will have a gun with a flashlight taped to it, so the light will shine, and you have to wait for the light to go away, and then run very quickly through that section of an opening, and then get to the next one, rinse and repeat to get around them. And sometimes they're very fast, like the humans are with the gun, and they literally one shot, dead. And if that happens, you get sent back to the last time that you stopped in the den. So basically, your save points in this are returning to the den.
What about when you're trying to change like paths?
Yep.
Is there any like because like when you were trying to get up on the thing there to get to where the scent was, like that looks like it was maybe in need of a prompt.
It's a little awkward. There are prompts But
there are prompts, but that wasn't a prompt for that. So I found while you were doing that on the footage, I was kind of thinking like, oh, how do you know where you need to be to get up on that little ledge to get on that path?
So as you start to play it, you start to learn that there's visual cues. So any place you can jump up or down, it will be brown and it will have like light streaks running down the wall. It's kind of like how a lot of games. It's kind of like how a lot of other games use yellow to tell you like where to go. In this, it's that brown with like the white streaks. But to your point, when humans are chasing you, trying to kill you, it is very annoying trying to go up or down those branching paths when the heat is on, because you have to wait for that prompt to pop up, and otherwise you can't do it. Now you're seeing here a badger. There is other wildlife in this game. The first time you come across a badger, you kind of have to fight him. Later on, the badger also has a baby. And if you sneak by the badger, there's a nod that happens where they're like, oh, we both have babies now. We can't be fighting each other because if either of us die, our babies die. So there's all these little subtle moments in this game that really like hit home. It's really kind of hard to put it into words. It's like it doesn't portray all humans as bad. It does portray people who run like logging mills as bad. But even like the kids of those people love the fox and love the fox's babies and want to help the fox and help the babies. And like some of the holograms that you see and you come across are actually the children of the loggers begging the loggers to not kill the foxes. So there's this, it's just hard to explain. This is one of those games where like I saw it and I was like, okay, I'm going to request review code for this. I'm not expecting much. And then as I started playing it, I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm really glad. Like my eye was right on this one. It's really cool, really different. I've really not played anything else that plays like it, honestly. I wouldn't say I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it's definitely moving me. So now you can see the pups following. They're out now of the den, and now you have to consider them with everything. In some ways, it's easier, though, because I can jump into that bush, I can get the food, they'll jump in there with me, and I can feed them right in the bush. So now I don't have to go all the way back to the den to feed them anymore. But now they're out in the open. They're susceptible to predators. They're susceptible to humans. They don't run as fast as you do. They get left behind sometimes, so you have to, like, run back. You can pick them up and run and carry them in your mouth, too. Which is something I had to do one time when a human was chasing us. The baby started falling behind. I had to run back, pick up the baby, and run with it in my mouth to get away from the human. There's just all these moments in this game like this, and it's great. I am really, really enjoying this game. And again, it is an eco game, and it doesn't beat you head over the head with the eco stuff. It just happens all on its own. You start to realize on your own that this is what's happening to our wildlife, that they are getting run out of the lands that they live in and they have nowhere to go. And so they end up going someplace where they're put into danger, basically, or where their mating patterns are changed, or where their babies can't really cope with it and they end up dying. It's powerful. Really good stuff. It's been interesting these last like couple of months, Matt, as we have kind of been forced to dig into more indie games. At least for me, it's been
just
that way.
like the foxes.
Yeah, seriously.
Forced out of our AAA habitat.
Yeah, seriously, though, you're right. Yeah,
we've had to make do in indie land.
You're right. And it just so happens that in this time period, there have been some really cool, really good indie stuff coming out, and it's been really refreshing to play some of this stuff.
Also, kind of a reminder that a lot of this, that side of the industry really isn't impacted by the same kind of problems as the AAA space.
Smaller teams, they were already working remotely anyway. A lot of times these teams have people strewn.
They're not answering to giant marketing departments.
World. Right. They don't have to worry about their release windows butting heads with something else.
Probably not a lot of death threats to the Fox game.
Yep.
I doubt people were screaming at the game director on this one to find out what the release date was.
Yeah. Andy T. Monahan encapsulates this game perfectly. And this, if it ever gets a physical release, this should be the quote on the box. It should say, Andy T. Monahan, who are the real animals? That's really what this game is about. It's like, who are the animals in this? Is it the foxes or the people? and I'll leave it up to you to decide. But really good stuff. I recommend you buy this game. It's very dry right now. There's not a lot of great stuff to play. Matt, I recommend you play it. I think you'll love it. And again, it's called Extinction is Forever. You can play it on pretty much anything. It just came out today. So between this and Stray, it's getting an intense week for animal games. 2 great animal games, actually. So there you go. Let's see if we have any questions, actually, before we move on here in our chat. Danny Endurance says physical release comes out today for $30. Vincent says it was first scheduled to release in Q1 2021, so I wouldn't say unaffected. That's a good point, actually. Mm-hmm. But it could still not be affected by the pandemic. It could just be that they just couldn't get it done.
Indie games take a while.
Or they decided to expand the scope of the game. Who knows? It could have been anything. Mm-hmm. Eat Demon says alive next week. Yeah. And that's
the enthusiasm. Buckle up.
But that's also an animal-driven game.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. Aren't all the characters in that animals?
Are they?
I thought they were. Again, I've never played it.
It's just an RPG kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like a fantasy. I mean,
I thought I remembered seeing
probably,
the trailer.
There's probably like some fox-headed people or something. I don't know.
Because it's a JRPG.
Yeah, there's some cat girls in there somewhere probably. I don't know.
Congram asks, how's the audio? So. It's great. I mean, it's subtle. Because animals don't talk. So there's no dialogue from the humans either. They just like kind of growl or grunt. I mean, it gets the message across. But music, sound effects, ambient stuff, all amazing. I liked it a lot. Squishy Muffin, did you guys talk about Stray today? Yes, we did. It was the first topic we discussed today. 2 animal topics in GameFace 308. So there's a theme going.
Next one is too.
What?
The next topic is animal related.
Is it?
Yeah. Because those who search for Animal Chin have already found him.
Nice, Matt. That's great. Perfect friggin' segue into our next topic, which is Skate 4. Well, actually, it's they're rebooting it. It's just called Skate, period.
I think we thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, and that is actually...
A lot of people were saying like they're probably going to take the number off this one.
Yep, and they did. They're basically rebooting the franchise. We got a bunch of information this week on the new Skate. Not really from EA. Some of it was from EA, but the most of it came because a build of the game has leaked. And people are playing it, like thousands of people are playing it. And it got to the point where EA gave up and stopped trying to like swat all the videos that were going up on YouTube, because you couldn't. It got out into the wild, and there are thousands of people playing it. And not only that, some studious players have set it up online. And you can play multiplayer online, which is something that like EA's build didn't do on its own. They went in and messed with the code and got it to play online. So what has happened is there has just been a deluge of information about the new Skate this week. And at the same time, EA put out a bunch of new footage with a developer doc. Now, keep in mind, this is all development footage. Most of this is not what the actual game looks like. I realize you guys all know this because you guys are smart AF. You guys know the industry really well, but if anyone's watching this on YouTube and just kind of comes across our show and are like, oh my god, what did they do to Skate? This is all, as you can see, pre-alpha gameplay. A lot of no texturing and things like that. It's just
Although you could make an argument that a skateboarding game that looks like this would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think there's been kind of like mobile skateboarding games that have at least something like this aesthetic. And here you can see kind of like what it will actually look like when they're done with it, but there's been a deluge of information about the new Skate, and EA, prompted by the community, has decided that it should come out and share some information officially with the good people. That would be us.
Clearly in San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, so the first thing I would say is that what they're saying right now is that it appears the game is coming out in October. Now, people don't think it's this October because, as you can see, the game does not look anywhere near finished.
Although it says prototype from 2020.
Right.
So.
But, and even like in the developer doc, the people working on the game, I think this new studio is called Full Circle, which makes sense because it's some old people who worked on the old Skate games and now they're back at EA, so the studio is called Full Circle.
Can't get away.
Yep. Those people did not hint that like the release is imminent. Now, the CEO of EA, in an earnings call like a few months ago, did say that the game was close. So there is a possibility that it comes out this October. More likely it's October 2023. And the reason people know it's coming out in October is because in the latest build that people have, there is signage everywhere for Halloween in the game. So that logic would tell you that probably means that the game is going to come out in October.
Was one of the skates the one that had like the streamed advertisements on the billboards and like it was all Simpsons movie and it was all white with the Simpsons logo? It looked terrible. Like
one of the early experiments with in-game advertising that did not pan out very well.
Was that Skate 2?
Yes, I believe. Yeah, it was Skate 2. Yep, when they were trying new ways to monetize it. Let's see, what else do we know? The biggest thing about this is, Matt, it's going to be free to play. Free to play. I think that's the right move. I think convincing somebody to buy a skateboarding game at full price in 2022 is a fool's errand. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think anyone's going to buy it anymore. Now, people did buy the remakes of the first 2 Tony Hawk games. I would argue that was a huge nostalgia play.
Yeah, that's because you want to play the things you used to play.
Yeah, that was all like people trying to reach back into their childhood and like trying to relive like what it was to be 8 years old again. And it didn't hurt that the remakes were good. I mean, they did a good job working on those as well. But I do think the right call is free to play. Now, obviously, your first concern is, oh my gosh, is it going to be pay to win? Or are you going to be able to spend money to get a board that will help you ollie higher or help you ollie farther? Now, EA swears up and down that is not the case. In fact, its 4 bullet points it keeps pointing to is that it's not pay to win. There will be no map areas locked behind a paywall. There will be no paid loot boxes and no paid gameplay advantages.
So you're just buying
clothes and cosmetics. They cited Apex Legends as the model that they're going to follow for this game. And if that is true, that is about the best model that they could have ever chosen for this. Apex Legends, nobody complains about how the monetization works in Apex Legends. And it makes at least $1 billion a year off the cosmetics.
Yeah. Made by another company who left EA and then came back
Full
later.
circle. Can't make this stuff up. The game is coming to everything. Every platform.
I wonder if there's some leverage there where it's just like, you want us to leave again?
Right.
Or would you like to do it the right way?
Yep. The game is coming out on everything, even last gen, so PS4 and Xbox One. Obviously, PS5, Xbox Series, Switch, PC. There's also going to be mobile versions of the game. And again, if you're making a free-to-play game, you kind of have to make sure it's available for everything. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it ultimately pays off in the long run. In the playtest, there are different shirts and cap colors, which you can be equipped. But in the final game, it's crucial to progress in the game and improve your skills in order to unlock new clothes and items. For example, you need a certain skill level to purchase clothes from certain manufacturers. And my question is, who decides that hierarchy? How do you decide whether, like, Birdhouse is the cheap stuff in the game, and then you have to be level 50 before you can wear Supreme or Stussy or whatever?
I mean, you could do it by, like, prestige level or how hard it, Supreme would be high level because it's hard to get.
Do you think they're paying EA behind the scenes to make their clothes like top level stuff?
I'm sure you can pay a little extra to have them be lower level unlockable so more people are running around in your gear. That's probably
because that's the question, right? It's like, so if you're Stussy or Supreme and your stuff costs a little more, do you want it to be harder to get so it's realistic?
I would think just brand-wise, Supreme would say, yeah, lock us behind the highest tier stuff because that's what they are.
But to your point, if they're cheaper, more people are wearing Supreme and you get more pin action.
Supreme's not having trouble selling.
Well, they're also, those clothing companies are also the kings of face scarcity.
Well, right.
They just don't make much
part of
of
their
everything.
Brand is how hard it is to get them. So I would say you replicate that in the game. Whereas if I'm like Tony Hawk doing the Birdhouse stuff, I'd be like, I want everybody running around in Birdhouse shirts. So I'm going to say like, yeah, make it a low level, make it cheap.
Yep.
So you'll sell a lot of them.
That makes sense. In the build that people have found, they've also come across crafting materials and blueprints to build skate park items. So building and community is supposed to be a big part of this. We haven't really been exposed to a lot of that stuff yet, so we're not sure what EA plans for that stuff. But again, they found crafting materials in the game. Now, as far as the gameplay, most people are saying it's just like Skate 3, for better or worse. Now, I would argue, watching some of this footage, I don't think the physics look good at all. I think they look way off. When you pop off of, like, handrails or rails, there's, like, this floaty, like, ollie almost that happens.
It looks more like the old Tony Hawk game.
Right.
And also the people doing full flips over the cars and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't think that's That's Tony Hawky, but it's not very realistic.
Well, the other thing about this, Matt, is there's a huge on-foot component to it.
Yeah, I see all the parkour.
That's like the big quote-unquote innovation for this new skate, is the stuff that you can do when you're not on the board. And I get it.
I get it, but also, like, I don't know if that's what people are looking for in a skateboarding game, is getting off the skateboard. But
well, I don't know, Matt, if you remember, but when we talked about skate, it's been almost a year now since we talked about it last time. But last time I talked about this, I brought up that, like, there's never been a skateboarding game that really encapsulates what it's like to really skate. Like, be a skater. Like, skate from spot to spot, hanging out at the 7-Eleven while you get yourself a big gulp. Like, all the fun cultural stuff that happens when you just hang around with a bunch of skaters all day.
I play the Tony Hawk games, and as I understand it, being a skater is skating around in a park for about 5 minutes before Tony Hawk realizes that you're really good and takes you on a world tour.
See, and that's not what it's like.
No?
No. It's hanging around with fun, cool people that are funny.
I thought I just went out and skateboarded in the Embarcadero for about 20 minutes. I'd meet Bam Margera, and that would be the end of it.
The funniest people I've ever met in my life, other than some people that I've met working in like television and entertainment, were skaters. Like, just hanging around with my boys, I laughed all day. They're just funny. And like, I feel like that is the thing that they have not got into skateboarding games. I don't think that's going to happen with the new skate either. It just doesn't feel like that's the direction they're headed. But I do feel like placing more of an emphasis on being on foot is at least a first step towards that type of a skateboarding game. I don't know if it'll ever materialize, but a boy can dream. As far as controls are concerned, as I said, it's pretty much what you played with Skate 3. The Flick-It dual analog control scheme is back, which I also hate, because there's just not enough separation for each trick. Like, I remember trying, like, some tricks in Skate forever and not being able to land them. Because it's like, there's like a 5-degree difference on the analog stick between, like, a crooked grind or, like, a backside Smith grind.
Yeah,
it's literally, like, this much space on the analog stick. And it's like, there were sometimes I could not get through the tutorials in Skate.
That was a problem I had, too, because it's just,
it's that one...
I'd just rather have a button, guys.
Yeah, it's that one exact trick that you cannot get the analog stick.
And they had, like the whole thing where it's like, you know, some of the tricks are like, move left and then roll to up.
Like Street Fighter commands.
But, like, you know what I don't play Street Fighter with? Analog sticks.
Right. Yeah.
It sucked.
I didn't like it either. And apparently it's coming back. And I'll be honest with you, Matt, like, we're on an island there. Like, most players like that control scheme. I do not know why.
I guess it's fine if you're not trying to do specific tricks, but a lot of the challenges were, like, trying to get you to do specific tricks, and I couldn't do them.
Yeah. I'm
just skating around and doing stuff. I don't care which grind comes out. You know, like...
But if you have to get through specific objectives where it's like, do a backside really crooked grind down this handrail, and I'm like, I can't do it. Yeah. I cannot get the crooked grind. I agree with you. Now, I like the way they ollie in the Skate franchise. Flipping the stick down and up, or the nollie, up and then down. That makes sense. But using the right analog stick to choose the trick, to me, it does not work. So I'm hoping maybe they'll create some alternative control scheme for people like us.
Or maybe the analog sticks are better now.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or just limit, like, I mean, I think 8 is your limit on things you can put on the stick, you know? Like,
even that's pushing it. Like,
that's push. It
honestly,
is.
4 is like...
4 is good. Diagonals at a push. But if you're trying to get me to do weird little things like that, it's a little...
It's too much.
If you want me to go diagonally down left and then roll up to diagonally up left, like, I'm never going to pull that off.
It's not going to happen.
I could do it on an arcade stick, but I don't think I can do it on a right analog stick.
Yep. Anyway, that's the latest updates on Skate 4, or they're just calling it Skate. They're considering it a reboot.
I mean, if you're going to do a live service free-to-play thing, it's the right thing to take the number off.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just a platform now.
Yeah, and there was a playtest that's about to happen, so if you haven't stumbled across the build that's floating around the internet right now, and you want to play what's probably an updated build that looks a lot better than what everyone else is playing right now, you can sign up right now. Just Google Skate, and you can go to their official website. There's a sign-up page there if you want to get in on it. And I think that's launching in the next month or so. Hopefully we can get in on that. I'll contact EA and see if they'll let us in. And then maybe we'll talk about it again at that point if we both have a chance to play it. But yeah, lots of information breaking on the new Skate. It'll be interesting to see how this does. I hope it does well, because skating games have just kind of gone away. Skating and snowboarding games, for that matter, have just kind of gone away. And we're left with, like, hey, let's remake one of the old Tony Hawk games. That's great if you haven't already spent 120 hours playing each of the first 2 Tony Hawk games. Like that, I did not stick with that game hardly at all, and I should be the person that would stick with it. So I need new skateboarding games, and here's one. And again, a lot of the stuff is happening on mobile now for whatever reason. Lower risk, I guess.
Yeah.
But
lower risk business model expectations are lower.
Yeah, it could be. But anyway, Skate coming out in October. It could be this October. It could be next October. I think it's far more likely that it's next October. If they're just doing a playtest, though, that also kind of points to...
I'm going to say it's probably this October.
It's possible.
Look, I just hope this leads to another SSX. That's all I want. Don't care about skateboarding.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
No?
Although...
It would be tricky.
Good one. Did you intend to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. EA could do it free to play though, like they're doing with this.
Yeah.
That's possible. If Skate does well in the free to play model, I could see them doing an SSX free to play game.
You do an SSX free to play game that's sort of like got that sort of idea and is sort of like what SSX 3 did with the open mountain.
Yeah.
With everybody, kind of like Steep.
Yeah.
You know, like running around on the mountain, just finding stuff to do. Like, I'd be into that.
It is. I do find it weird that Ubisoft has managed to release like 2 games with like wingsuits in them.
Yeah.
But we can't get a new skateboarding game?
The Crew 2 is on its 4th anniversary. It got a new update and they revamped how the controls work. When you revamp the controls 4 years after you release a game, that tells me something.
That's insane.
But like, yeah, the Crew 2 is still going.
Wow. Can't I say Ubi doesn't stick with this game?
No, they support that shit.
Yep.
Credit where credit is due.
All right, let's see what people are saying in chat. Maybe they don't care about skate. Maybe people don't care about skateboarding games anymore. Sneaky says Session is out next month. Skate games haven't gone anywhere. Have you played Session?
Yeah, I've not heard good things.
I've played all these skateboarding games haven't gone anywhere LOL games. They're garbage. Like, I couldn't even hardly play Session. It was so busted and weird and broken. Skater XL, same thing. And all these games try to be like hyper realistic, which should be right in my wheelhouse. As someone who skated for 11 years, I should be looking for that. No, like a cross between Skate and Tony Hawk, to me, is perfect. The ollieing, the nollying from Skate, the trick selection from Tony Hawk. If you could blend those two together, I think to me that would be the perfect skateboarding game. These games that try to make playing a skateboarding game as difficult as skateboarding really is, no thanks. Like, skateboarding, it is realistic. It is the hardest thing I ever did. Skateboarding and golf. And I grew up playing 4 sports. I played football, basketball, baseball, and soccer. And none of those sports compare to either of those 2 sports as far as difficulty of learning. And when I play a game, I don't want it to be that way. It's like amped freestyle snowboarding for the original Xbox. It was harder than real snowboarding. Like, you couldn't even just carve down the hill in that game without, like, having to read the instruction manual. No! Nobody wants that. I didn't want it. Nobody wants it. You have to find a happy medium between making it user-friendly and fun to play while still being realistic enough that you feel like you're actually doing the activity still.
Yeah, that's called 1080.
Right. Yeah, 1080 is perfect. It was right in that sweet spot wheelhouse. And what happened to that damn franchise?
I don't know. It's buried in a vault somewhere with F-Zero.
They gave us another Wave Race. They didn't give us another 1080, though. It's weird.
It's weird because I bet maybe not this system, but maybe like the next Switch. I sure would like to see what that thing could do with snow rendering.
Yeah.
Like the powder would be cool.
Yeah. I'd like to see these genres. Because here's the other thing, too, about this new Skate. It's not going to push the PS5 and the Xbox Series X.
Because it's got to be on everything.
Yeah, it's not. So we may never get like a true next-gen skateboarding or snowboarding game, sadly, where you can see the stuff like you were talking about. Let's see if any questions. Sneaky says there are people now working on texturing the leaked version. That's a waste of time. That is a huge waste of time. Yeah, I don't know why they would be doing that, because eventually there's going to be another build, probably.
Some people have a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, I guess they do. How do people do this? Are they just rich? Like, I don't get it.
I think they have jobs they don't have to think about when they're not doing them.
Maybe. Or some people just have jobs. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Almost everywhere I've worked, Matt, there have been people where I'm like, how in the hell?
Yeah, you don't do anything all day kind of people, yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were people at Viacom when I worked at Game Trailers. Their jobs were literally to attend like 2 or 3 meetings a week. And that was it. I'm just like, how did I end up here? Where I am here at 9 in the morning until 7 or 8 p.m. every night. I'm here when you walk in and you say, hey, Shane. And then I'm here again when you leave right at 5 o'clock and you say, bye, Shane, every day for 7 years straight. How does that work? And a lot of those people were making way more money than me. I wasn't executive. I was a VP.
Yeah. But you were a VP that had to do
stuff.
You weren't a VP of things that are vaguely worded.
Just sitting in meetings and
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like we had
You need a VP title with development in there.
Right.
That's what that means.
We had at Viacom we had what was called Summer Fridays, and we could either work a Friday, have a Friday off, or you'd have half a day off. But most people would just work one Friday and get off the next to have the whole Friday off.
We had the half day Friday ones during the week.
Me and my team never got a Summer Friday off. We were there every Friday working normal hours. Nobody cared. Mm-hmm. My boss never came to me and was like, hey, let's try to figure out a way that you guys can actually get one of these Fridays off. Never. Because they knew if we didn't work, everything fell apart. And then they couldn't get away with just going to their 3 meetings a week anymore. Mm-hmm. They'd have to actually do something. Corporate America is insane. I'll just say this.
It's doubly ridiculous when you think about all that was hinging on videos about video games.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I'll just say this. If any of you guys have managed to weasel your way into one of these jobs where you basically go to work every day and hide, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
They go to work and they close their door and hide.
Yeah. I have very specific names in my head right now.
Oh, I could rip off 10 names right now, bro. People that worked with me at Viacom that were like that. And their door opens to go to lunch. They come back from lunch. They close it. They come back out at 5 o'clock, and that's it. And they don't do anything all day. I do have to hand it to some people who have managed to finagle their way into that.
Meanwhile, production's fighting with spears in the flaming wreckage of the cubicles.
It's crazy. Yep, that's the way it is. So anyway, that's the latest on Skate. You think this October?
I think it's possible, yeah.
I think it's probably 50-50. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of signs pointing to
it's going to come out the day you leave for Greece.
That would suck. I would be bummed about that, because I am excited to play this game, believe it or not.
I'm sure there'll be early access and stuff before that.
We'll see. Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk next about a game Matt has been playing this week, other than Stray. It's a game called Escape
Because
Academy.
It came out before 9 a.m. this morning.
It's a game called Escape Academy. I was talking earlier about how some of the parts of Stray are kind of like escape rooms, where you'll get into a room, a door will lock.
Well, escape rooms are largely based on video game logic. Mm-hmm. So, they came from... Basically, I think escape rooms did arise from point-and-click adventure games, essentially. It's like playing a real-life one. So, it's just circular. Everything's coming back around.
How is this game structured? Is there a plot to it at all?
Yeah, there is. It's the Academy sort of gives it away. So basically, the beginning is you go into an escape room place that is all run down and terrible, and the employee is super bored, and you go into the room and it's this incredibly rudimentary puzzle.
It's kind of like going to a VR arcade in Vegas.
Yeah, and you come out and everyone's gone. The employee's gone, and then there's another puzzle to solve. And if you solve that, you open this door and come down, and she's down at this underground train underneath the escape room place. And it's I'm actually the headmaster of the Escape Academy, and you're the greatest escape person we've ever seen. So you get to come be in our Escape Academy school. So basically, it's Harry Potter with escape rooms instead of magic.
Okay.
So you go to this Escape Academy. Without telling anyone where you're going and without packing. You just get on a train and go. It's the beginning of Half-Life or something. And you get there and you're set up in a dorm, and basically you got a map of the school, and you point and click to different places on the school, and if there's a person icon, you go talk to one of the quirky, weird characters, and if there's a key icon, you go and click on there's an escape room to do. So this game exists because I guess the people who made it are escape room fans, or maybe escape room designers. And when the pandemic hit, they couldn't go do their favorite thing anymore, so they decided to make a game that replicates the escape room experience. And that's literally what this is. You end up in escape rooms, and you have to go do the things that you would do in a real life escape. Open this thing. Here's a key. Look if this thing on the wall is a poster, and it's got all these suspiciously highlighted numbers, and that's probably the combination for this lock. And in the lock is a tool you need to unscrew this thing, and once you unscrew this thing, you can get to this and turn this black light on, and that shows you the number, the word code to punch into the keypad with the letters on it, that kind of thing.
So they're cascading puzzles where you solve one that leads to the next, that leads to the next.
Yeah, or there's multiple parts in one room that all come together to solve the main lock that lets you out of the room. And some of this stuff is obviously things you like. This one? No, this is the initial escape room.
This is the very beginning of the game.
This is the very beginning with the terrible escape room with the broken clock and stuff. But you end up in things where, like, you're in a tower that's flooding and you have to solve the floor you're on before it floods and you drown. So, like, that's obviously not a thing that would happen in a real escape room. I mean, unless something goes horribly wrong. I mean, I guess there's probably some extreme.
I don't think they'd be as popular as they are.
Or actually, there's a premise for something. Like, someone stumbles into the escape room equivalent of like Fight Club, and it's just like, no, these escape rooms kill you if you don't get out. Like there's a horror.
I'd watch that TV show.
I guess that's technically kind of Saw, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
But if it was like a voluntary thing, it was like
even to an extent, like Squid Games a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Which I just saw this footage of a Japanese version of Squid Games as an actual game show. I mean, they don't kill you; they hit you with a really powerful water gun when you die. But
that's pretty painful.
Yeah, it's no
like
joke.
A fire truck hose will knock you down.
But yeah, so that's basically it. There's a whole cast of quirky professors who give you, like, there's one guy who does there's a maintenance guy who end up in like weird things with like the pipes and stuff. That's how you end up in the flooding thing. There's a thing with the art teacher is like, I've hidden paint somewhere so you can do this, like, tag up the graffiti on this thing, but you got to go find the paint. So to unlock the room the paint's in is this whole intricate thing, and they get harder as you go on. And you can get hints, like you can see there, the X button. You can hit X button for hints, and they time you. If you run out of time, you got to start over. And at the end of when you're finished, it gives you a grade. I've never gotten less than an A+. No matter, I think the grade may just be whether you take hints or not, and I've never used a hint.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I think it doesn't matter with the time so much as if you don't take hints, you get an A+.
Okay.
On your report card, and then you get badges for each one you solve. And when you fill up the display case of badges, it all forms a little puzzle picture. I assume there's like some final thing you have to do.
Now, is your goal to revive the escape room business and make it successful?
No, it's just to become a really good escape room person. Okay. Like, that's apparently your...
So there's no, like, management sim
no
elements to this or anything?
You're literally just doing escape rooms and talking to people.
Okay.
It's very, very rudimentary. The graphics are fine. They're kind of simple, but like it lets the things that you need to interact with stand out. So you're not like just so you're not going to lose, probably not going to lose one of these rooms through the timer because you can't tell what you're supposed to touch or look at.
Right.
It's all pretty well communicated visually. And some stuff is red herring. A lot of stuff you can interact with is just like your character will say something
nothing.
about it. It's just like, oh, I can't believe how much junk is in this room or something.
Okay.
So you got to kind of find what's relevant. But so far it's all it all works pretty well. I've only played a couple of escape room things in my time in real life, but it does.
I've never done an escape room in my life.
It does replicate this. I mean, if you play video games, you're pretty well.
You're good at escape rooms.
You're probably at least you're going to understand the logic of how they're working. Like if you're familiar with how Gabriel Knight and that cat mustache puzzle works, like you're already pretty prepared for all this.
Okay. Yeah, I can't believe I've never done one. Now that I think about it,
it's fun. I mean,
for a while it was like a thing that like couples would go out and do together.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd like it.
Yeah. It also seems like it's a fad that's kind of gone now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as much because, like, there was a period of time where it was not a great idea to be stuck in a room you couldn't get out of.
I guess all those businesses have shut down at this point. It's an unfortunate choice for a business.
We lived through an escape room for about a year, so it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But it's fun, it's cool. I enjoy them, and this is a really good replication of it. So if you'd like to know what they're like, or if you are interested in kind of like, oh, would I like this? This is a pretty good way to find out because it is very much the same kind of logic and setup stuff with a little. With a little bit of, ornamentation, let's say, because obviously you're not up against, the scale of things that is in there. You can do stuff it's sort of like the pinball machines that can do things that like you could never do in a real pinball machine. It's sort of that for escape rooms, but the way the puzzles work is pretty similar.
Swanland is asking if you played co-op at all.
There is a co-op mode, yes, but
Did you try it?
No, I think it's only local, but I might be wrong.
It might be more frustrating to play this with someone else.
Maybe.
I guess it depends on how smart they are. Grab stuff that could help you solve the puzzle, and you're like, wait a minute, like that thing. If I had seen it, I would have known exactly what to do with it.
I think it tells both of you. I would imagine you both see when someone picks something. I think that's a universal thing. I can't imagine that would be a really bad design choice.
Yeah, but I mean, I would imagine like dealing with people with real escape rooms, you have to. Part of it is managing
there's
the
a lot
other
of communication
human beings that you're working with.
Anytime you find something, you got to call it out. You got to everybody's got to just you gather everything you can find and put it in one thing. It's like, what are these for? What are these related to? What is this? And it's cool. You got to pick your team. I've been both with people I know and people who are like random people I'd never met before. But if you've run a show team, you can run an escape room team.
Yep.
I guarantee you.
Or like herding cats.
Yeah.
How much is this?
It's $30, I want to say.
$30?
Yeah, but it's also on Game Pass. That's how I got it.
Oh, it's free on Game Pass this month. Do you know what other platforms it's available for?
I think it's this and PlayStation and PC.
Okay. Would you?
I would think it would run on Switch, but I don't think there's a Switch version.
It looks like it should. I mean, I would guess eventually it's coming if it's not available already.
In fact, I think it might work better on Switch because one of my criticisms, I think, is that it's a little sluggish to control, and especially when you're in like screens like this where you have to move the cursor around to press things. It just moves like a slug.
Oh, that sucks.
So with a touch screen on the Switch, I think it would be, or with a mouse on PC, I think it would be a more enjoyable, smoother experience.
That's such a weird problem for a game to have in 2022.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great to move around in.
Yeah.
It's a little, and I think part of it is just because it feels kind of like your standard. I don't know if this is Unity or whatever, but it feels a little off the shelf.
It looks like
Unity.
Unity.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you mean.
And it's fine, but like. Yeah, it's just like the puzzles are the star here, not the gameplay.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Whereas as opposed to like Stray, where the first time you move the cat around, you're like, oh yeah, this feels good. This works. But it's fine.
Would you recommend anyone buy it at $30?
If you really like escape room stuff, maybe.
Are the puzzles like really smart and clever? Like, do you feel good after you solve them?
I guess it is online co-op. Vince says.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Do the puzzles feel good when you solve them? Are they challenging enough that like you get that sense of accomplishment?
Once you get past the first few of them, I think it's like the fourth or fifth one was like, oh, that was because they're rated with the number of keys. And I think the second 3 key one, I was like, oh, that was clever. That was really. I started hitting a point. I'm like, oh, that was cool. I get what you're saying.
Starting to see how this is working now. Yeah.
And the one thing that I was worried about with this that didn't happen. Was I was worried that it was going to be a thing where I'm just like, I can't figure out what it wants me to do because I can't tell what's important from the background. Or, I was worried it was going to be putting it in a video game form was going to be like, oh, I'm just confused by what the graphics are trying to tell me versus like not being able to solve the puzzle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that has not really happened. They have actually done a really good job of communicating what the useful objects in the room are, what this means, what this is connected to. Like there's some real life escape rooms that aren't good at that.
Yeah.
But this has been very good about communicating things, and then about halfway through the game, you sort of like they start to sort of expect you to know things and not like
they build on what you've
so
learned.
Much, and like it has a nice build to it.
Okay.
I can see some real escape room experts just find it pretty elementary for most of the time. But in general, I think it's a very pleasant recreation of what it's like to do an escape room. It's made by a very small team. The music is terrible.
Oh, really?
I hate the music in this game. I can't really put a finger on why. I just think it sounds like...
It's probably just bad.
It's just bad library music, it sounds like to me, so I turned it off.
Yeah.
Which is doubly weird because like you can go to radios and switch between the radio and pick different songs. And I'm just like, you guys are really leaning into the music here for something that's I feel like
terrible.
Is awful.
Yeah.
Might just be me, though. I don't know. And the characters are fun. There's like the snobby student that thinks they're better than you, and the different weird quirky professors that like. It's very Harry Potter in that regard. It's you can see the tropes at work. It's very lighthearted. Nothing makes any sense. It's just like it's like this is just like a hidden academy for escapists. They call themselves escapists.
Is that really a thing?
I mean, I don't think that's a major in most schools. No, I don't.
No, I just mean are there people who are so into escape rooms
I am sure
that they call themselves escapists.
I am sure there are. I'm no
Hilarious.
doubt.
Swanland says the demo crashed on me several times.
That's not great. This is I have not had any crashes or technical problems with this. The full version, anyway. Although I do, if I remember right, the corner of the title screen, I think it says it's like version 0.118.1 or something. I'm like, oh, is this like what is an alpha? What are we playing here?
It's a little weird to put that up on Game Pass if it's not version 1.0.
It does not say. There's definitely a 0 at the beginning of it. But I don't know. I don't know what their numbering system is. So maybe that's just how they do it.
Yeah.
But it's fun, and it feels like you could add more in the future if you wanted to. Like,
seems like it would be more fun if it was competitive against another group of people trying to get out of the room before the other group of people do.
There are escape rooms like that.
But I mean, like, the game should do that.
That's not a thing I would want to do, really.
No?
No. I don't care.
Put a little more pressure on you?
No, I don't care what other team is. I mean, you can compare times. Like, you know, it does.
There's a
mark your
leaderboard.
highest. I don't think there's a leaderboard, but you can mark your highest time. You can go back and do them again to do them faster. Once you finish the escape room, it does list out how you solved all the puzzles, and there are things where I've just been like skipped, because stuff I've skipped because I figured out the answer without needing the clues, and it'll just be like skip, skip, skip. And I'm just like, I've missed whole chunks of the puzzle before when I'm just like,
I figured it out already.
I figured this out, or like I made a pretty good guess. And I'm just like, oh, that sounds like there's like a thing with somebody's name. You're supposed to figure out somebody's name, and I just figured I had two of the names. I didn't have the middle name, and I'm like, this is probably their middle name, and it was.
You guessed it.
It was like that.
Wow, that's crazy. So $30 available for everything.
I think it's $30, yeah.
And it's on Game Pass. So
$30 is the high threshold of what I'd pay for this.
Yeah.
But like if this goes on sale at some point for like $20, I'd say give it a shot. It's fun.
Okay. Or you could just subscribe to Game Pass for a
or
month
just get it
for
off Game Pass,
$15 and like try that and like 100 other games and figure out whether you want to pay the full price for them or not. One of the beauties of Game Pass. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
You left out? No?
No, it's not a whole lot to say about it. It's pretty straightforward. I think I also just appreciate that it's like a team that was like, we missed doing this thing we like, so we're just going to make a game so people can do it.
Yeah.
And then it came out after everybody could already go do it again.
Yeah.
But
well, I don't know. They may be closing them down again right about
that's
now.
That's true.
Numbers are starting to pop up there again, which really sucks.
Yeah, this is I think they did a good job. I think it's a fun little
well
thing.
executed on the concept.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And does not even attempt to explain itself. It's just like, yep.
It's probably for the best.
We have a giant academy that's been here for like a century. It's all dedicated to escaping from rooms.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that just a prison?
Okay, there you go. That is Escape Academy. Again, available for everything, but you should probably give it a try on Game Pass first. And with that, it is time for... Name That Game, where I show you a bunch of screenshots of a video game, and you try to guess what video game it is. It's really as simple as that. Couple rules. First of all, you're trying to beat Matt. Matt has not won for a long time, but we rigged the game so that you guys can win. We'll just put it that way, and you guys do win. In fact, do you ever win? You guys are so good at this, it is astonishing. So I haven't done it this week, but here soon, I am going to make sure that we make it to the fifth image. Because I'm intentionally trying to make the game interesting. I'm trying to walk that line of showing you guys enough to where it really like gets your minds going so it's fun for you guys to play. But eventually, I am going to just give you 4 really rotten clues, and then the 5th one is going to give it away. Last week we made it, to the 3rd clue?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. There's Emperor Dread with his weekly guess of Body Harvest. Yep. Nope. Maybe that's the game I'll choose for the one that's impossible, though. So anyway, how it goes is I show you a series of screenshots. We put each one up for, 15 or 20 seconds or whatever. Our chat is put into slow mode for this. Thank you, Vincent. You can't just guess all willy-nilly.
Oh, no, last week was the first one. It was Quantum Break.
Yeah, that's right. It was the first one. Yeah, that blew my mind last week. Even going back and watching that again, it blew my mind.
2 weeks ago, we got
to the 2 weeks ago, we made it to the 3rd one. It's hilarious. So anyway, the chat is on slow mode, so you can't just spam the chat with guesses. Like, save one guess for each screenshot. Like, make it count, because you can only type one thing into our chat every 60 seconds. So, again, don't just spam our chat. Another thing, if you have won this year, do not play. You can only win one time per year. Do not guess. Last week, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but last week we had somebody who had already won in the chat guessing the name of the game, and they can't win. They're ruining the game for everybody else. So please be respectful, and if you've already won this game this year, do not play. Do not type anything into the chat. Do not offer any hints to anybody. Just sit and chill. That's it. That's all you can do if you've won already. If you win, you get a free game, and I'm glad that he's in the chat today so you guys can all thank him The games that we are giving out for this have been provided by Swanland. So Swanland, since you're here, I'm going to give you a round of applause for supplying the winnings for Name That Game. Okay, there's your applause, Swanland. And thanks again, man, for doing this. It's awesome that we have these things to give out. We're ready for image number 1 for Name That Game for GameFace episode 308. And here it is. Don't forget, it's slow mode, so you only have one guess every 60 seconds, so make sure your guesses count. The Walking Dead, no. The Last of Us, no. Resident Evil Remake, no. KOTOR, no. Horizon Zero Dawn, no. Sirens, no. Silent Hill Downpour, no.
Now, this is like a PS1 game.
Uncharted,
PS2.
no. GTA 5, no. Dying Light 2, no. Enslaved, no. Nerve 0123, welcome to the chat. Thank you for chatting for the first time. Hope you'll be back to hang out with us next week.
Dino Crisis.
Journey to the West, no. Dino Crisis, no. All right, let's move to image number 2. I think we gave that a fair shake. And here we go.
Oh.
There's a big hint there in that one. Ratchet and Clank, no. Green Hell, no. The Surge, no.
I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Control, no.
I know that D-Res effect.
Shadows of the Empire, no. Flashback, no. Star Wars the MMO, no. Metal Gear Solid, no. Meloac, you can't just guess Star Wars. You have to provide something more than that. Donut County, no. Eric Scott, someone already guessed Control, no. KOTOR, someone already guessed that, no. All right. Killer 7, no. That's a good guess, though. Because Killer 7, that's how people disintegrate, right? When they die, don't they have
that is sort of
pixels?
like it. Yeah.
Halo 2, no.
God, I know that effect, but I can't remember what game it is.
Okay, we're going to go to the third image. We made it to the third image, people. And here we go. Lollipop Chainsaw, no. Half-Life, no. People are running out of guesses. Uh-oh. Xenoblade, no. Crysis 3, no. That was a good guess. Mass Effect, no. I even gave you guys some good hints on this one. I wasn't trying to make this really hard. Xenosaga, no. Bayonetta, no. Metal Gear Raiden, no. That's Revengeance, isn't it?
Yeah.
We would have given it to you, though, AJ, if it was right. Star Wars Battlefront, no. Star Fox Zero, no. Far Cry 2, no. Syndicate, no. Nier Automata, no. Yes! We made it get to the fourth image. Prototype, no. Shadow Dancer, no. All right.
Geist.
No. That's a good guess, though. That is a good guess.
I think I'm in the right era.
Shadow Dancer, Shadow Heart, no. No. All right, we're going to the fourth image, people.
Wow.
I'm about to give myself a round of applause for the first time ever. This one, I think, will undoubtedly give it away. So get ready. Get ready to type, everyone. Get ready, Matt. Here we go. God of War, no.
Oh, what is that? You're killing me.
PlanetSide, no. You can get it, Matt.
I mean, I see it.
You can get it. Gears of War, no.
No, it does look like
There, we got it. Prey.
Prey. That's right.
MHG Immortan Joe. He finally got it. It is Prey.
It does look like the juice in Gears of War.
Yep. And here's the last image.
Mm-hmm.
That would have given it away. Nice job. Nikki 2010 May. The medium, no, but that was a good guess. And first time chat. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to GameFace. Come back next Tuesday and try again. I thought Immortan Joe had won already.
Oh,
No?
I don't remember.
Immortan Joe, you haven't won already? I thought for sure I gave you one. But apparently not. I hope he didn't join late and miss the whole speech at the beginning about not guessing if you've already won. I thought for sure he had one, but
I think
maybe not.
I think there's more than one Immortan Joe
Oh, really?
running around in the chat.
That seems random. That seems like a weird name to have multiples of.
People like Immortan Joe.
I don't know what that is.
That's the bad guy from Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, I had no idea. Yeah, it was Prey. Here's the here's the last. Oh, I showed you the last image. Yeah, that was a hard one. Look at that. Let's go back through the old images though, to see now if you look at them if it jogs your memory at all.
No, I mean I recognize the disintegration effect.
Yeah. And that pink.
Or that's like because that's the that's like the holographic cherry tree.
Yep.
Thing. Yeah.
Yep. It's all through the game. That's why I thought it would give it away. I maybe should have made that one the third image instead of the second one, because this one's maybe a little more obtuse. But see, this one I had nightmares from last week because it's very much like Control, right?
Yeah.
It's showing off like the effect of an attack, and I didn't think people would be able to get that stuff, but they got Control, or they got the one last week. Just like that, based off it. So I was like, maybe I should put this one later, and that's why I did put it later. This one, though, I thought would just give it away right away, because the creature there on the left-hand side, see his arm coming down?
Vaguely.
Remember, the creatures in this game, they look like
they're shadows.
Yeah, they look like the creatures on the side of the Space Invaders cabinet, arcade cabinet.
I gotta get better glasses, I think.
That might be part of it. You can't see. Yeah. Look, people give me some props. Good job, Shane. You did it. Yeah, and I didn't even do it cheaply either. I didn't just zoom in on one pixel and make it impossible either. I actually feel like you guys should have got it from that. So that was a good one. That was a good name, that game. It feels good walking away today.
Yeah, not many people did play Prey. That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Part of the problem.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a game with great music.
He says, nope, haven't won yet. Awesome, man. Here is your round of applause. And I'm just going to share this one with you because I actually made a good name that game for once. Something that I strive to do and rarely deliver on. So you can send us a DM right here on Twitch, or you can send me one on Twitter at Dinfire. You can send one to Sifted on Twitter at Sifted Games. You can send me one on Sifted.net where I'm at Shane. Whatever. Just get to us however you can, and we'll get that code out to you. And congratulations on your win.
Once again, iteration more important than innovation.
In what way?
In that you've finally perfected.
Oh. No, next week they'll get it on the first one again. I know it'll happen. It's all good. This is all for fun and to give you guys free games. That's really all I want to do, is just have fun with you guys and give away some cool stuff if we can. So mission accomplished. Again, congratulations, Immortan Joe. I can't believe I didn't know where that name came from all this time.
Yeah, I mean, they never really say it in the movie.
Yeah,
I think maybe once or twice.
But
it's not like how in the original, Toe Cutter or in Road Warrior, what's his name, Humongous.
No,
it's the Lord Humongous. It's not like a repeated
iconically repeated name. Yeah.
And also, a lot of people think it's Immortal Joe because Immortan is a weird word.
Right. So. Mitchell Live says, which Prey? It's the 2017 Prey. I'm sure you figured that out by now. Okay, it's time for some Q&A, and you guys are already in here. Go at Sifted Games in the chat if you want to ask us a question. We've got a little bit of time. We could probably answer 3 or 4 questions, depending on how long it takes for us to answer them. From Ashes in the Hourglass, Matt, what's your highest streak on Guess the Game? I'm at 30 right now. I'm not even sure what that is, honestly.
That's the game
Name that game, but it's an app.
Except it's this.
Okay.
It's like Wordle.
Gotcha.
I have to look it up. I'm current streak 41.
41?
I've never lost one of those.
What does that mean?
It means I've gotten it correct 41 days in a row.
Wow, that's amazing.
So,
what was the most guesses it took you?
6.
Is that all you're given is 6?
Yeah, you get 6 guesses.
I've never played Wordle either.
That's the distribution. So it's about right.
Oh, okay.
So it's like I got 4 and 1 guess, 9 and 2 guesses, 13 and 3 guesses, 8 and 4, 5 and 5, and 2 and 6.
Okay.
So it's about an even distribution. I guess the game is also interesting in that, unlike the other games like this, as you go, like, so the second screenshot they show you also gives you the Metacritic score.
Oh.
And the third guess gives you the original platforms it was on.
Oh,
and the fourth one is the genre, and the
so they give you hints with each one.
And the fifth one is the year it was released, and then the sixth one gives you the developer.
Okay.
So you're gonna get it.
You're gonna eventually by the sixth one.
Eventually, if you know games, you're probably gonna get it. If you don't know games, nothing's gonna help you.
You have no chance.
But yeah, it's a pretty good one. In fact, do you know that from the first shot?
Tony Hawk something.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. That was like the GBA Tony Hawk, I think, or something,
No.
wasn't it? No?
That's the PS1.
Oh, it's PS1. Same difference.
That's what it looked like.
Hilarious. Okay, next from Congrim1. Have you got a chance to try the Multiversus beta? I've been interested but found the requirements bothersome and deterring. Do you mean the requirements to become a part of the beta? I actually signed up for that. And then I was very disappointed to see that I never got an invite and everybody else was playing it. So I tried. I need to find a better press contact for that game, honestly. And this will prompt me to do that before we're back here next Tuesday. But I have not had a chance to play it, and I'm guessing you haven't either. I
got an email today that I think it's like available to open something.
Oh, is it open now?
I got an email this morning. I admit I was only vaguely awake.
Yeah.
Early access is live, so maybe not open. Open beta begins the 26th.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Multiversus is a Super Smash Brothers clone that's all basically WB properties. So it has like Scooby-Doo, it has Lord of the Rings, it has Game of Thrones. Like, there's a really eclectic collection of characters. It also has superheroes like
DC
Superman and Batman.
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Yeah, it's a weird mix. That's for sure.
But that's what makes those
and
games fun.
There was a big leak of upcoming characters that includes some. There's a lot of Cartoon Network stuff. Ted Lasso.
Really?
Was in the leak.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, basically anyone who's in Space Jam 2 could be in this game.
That's a good way to put it. Okay, Eve Demon. Do you really want a next-gen skateboarding game? Tony Hawk Remake only worked because they literally used PS2 physics code from the original games. Yes, I don't lie to you people. The stuff I say on this show is what I really believe. And yes, I want a next-gen skateboarding game. And I don't want Skater XL or Session. Like, I want it from a big publisher that has a lot of resources and deep pockets to make a really good skateboarding game. Now, I don't think that it should come out every year. I don't think we should get back on the Tony Hawk train where there's a new game coming out every year or every 2 years. Like, create a platform. That part of what they're doing with Skate, I think, is the right approach. They're creating a platform. That's why they just called it Skate, because it's going to be there for a long, long time, just like Apex Legends or other games as a service. So I do think Skate is taking that part of the project correctly. I think that's right. But I would like to see, and it's a shame, it's EA. Their game should look great, but it's not. So I am hoping, yes, that someone will come along with a big budget and deep pockets to make a really great skateboarding platform. And yes, I want real physics. Like, I hear ya. You like the Tony Hawk physics because that's how you learn to play skateboarding games. I get it. But that doesn't mean that they can't be improved. I mean, they're arcadey. And maybe a lot of people don't realize that because they didn't skate for real, but you can't do the stuff that you can do in Tony Hawk. And I don't want a straight sim where you literally have to practice a trick for an hour to land it like real skateboarding, or more in real skateboarding, honestly. But you can find a happy medium between the two. So to answer your question, yes, I really do want a next-gen skateboarding game. Mitchell is alive. What's your favorite guilty pleasure memorabilia?
I don't know. I don't have any guilty
like
pleasure.
Tchotchkes, swag, stuff we got in the industry throughout the years.
Guilty pleasure? I don't know what that.
Well, maybe he means like it's like a collectible something for a game that you don't really like, or that a game that's bad but the actual collectible is cool. That's a tough question.
I don't really keep things for things I don't like.
Yeah, I have had some stuff in the past, but I did a purge not long ago of swag where I just threw a bunch of stuff away. So that was as the EIC at Game Trailers, like they'd send us games for review or preview, and they'd send us like 2 or 3 packages. So one package would be from me, the EIC, and that would have like all the awesome stuff in it. And then they just send us a box with a bunch of games that I'd then give out to my editorial staff so they could all play the game. Because our people don't realize this, and if you look back at game trailers, there was never a name on our reviews, and that's because our reviews were collaborative a lot of the times. I would ask publishers to make sure they send us multiple copies, at least 2, and that way the person who was actually assigned to finish the game and review it had a copy, and then at least one other person on the editorial staff also had a copy and were able to play it. So it was kind of like the EGM review scheme, except behind the scenes, because when it came down to it, if the 2 people who played it kind of butted heads on the score, I'd bring them into my office and we'd talk about it. And we'd figure out the score based upon both of those. Now, obviously, giving a lot more weight to the editor who actually finished the game versus the person who was just playing it to provide the counterbalance. So that's kind of how it worked. And so I would end up getting a lot of swag for crap that I didn't want. And honestly, most of it I just gave away to the people on the editorial staff. So like Matt said, like I didn't keep stuff except for stuff that I really wanted. And then the stuff that I did ended up having for whatever reason, when it was all said and done and I left game trailers that were for franchises that I didn't want, it ended up sitting in my closet until I threw it away. So I don't really have any guilty pleasure memorabilia. Although, actually, now that I think about it, there's been some stuff. Like, Rockstar sent me a Garrett. I have a Garrett thing you can literally use to kill people.
Well, Garrot.
Garrot. You can choke
Garrett
them.
is the guy who made Ultima.
Oh, right. He's the developer.
Who also chokes you to death if you're not careful.
A Garrett. Yeah, it was made, basically, it had 2
out of razor
leather
wire.
tabs
Yeah.
and razor wire in between.
And it said Manhunt on one of the tabs.
Yeah.
It was literally a weapon. They sent you
kill
a murder
people.
weapon.
Yeah, it was. And I had that, and then I got like some stuff for Dead or Alive from Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja.
Oh, I like the boob mouse
with just like
pads,
crazy boob stuff. Like I had a mouse pad that was like the pad to support your wrist was 2 boobs.
Yeah, that's a standard thing now in anime.
Oh, it is?
Anime merchandise.
Oh,
that's a standard thing.
So that
there's some. I mean, there was who ended up with the giant purple dildo bat.
We never got that.
Saints Row. We got that.
We didn't get.
I think Blaine took that.
Oh, really?
I think Blaine had that. I wonder what he did.
We never did get that one. But yeah,
we got the chainsaw, the giant chainsaw gun thing from Warhammer. Which we then shot a sex scene with Blair Herter, and then because there was so much baby oil involved for the shoot, the gun was eternally sort of slightly oily. And
would
nobody
never go away.
Like we left it in the middle of the X-Play area at the end of when we all moved out at the end of G4, and we're just like, whoever wants the slimy gun the chainsaw thing can come
they can
get
have it. Yeah,
somebody took it. I don't remember who took it.
It's great. So I guess at the end we did end up getting to we were able to answer his question.
Yeah, I didn't keep any of that stuff, but those things did exist.
That
was the other thing. I didn't have it, but Morgan did, and she got rid of it a couple years later because it was from Mafia. I think Mafia 3, Mafia 2. I think I can't remember if it was Mafia 2 or 3, but it's a lamp, like it's a little table lamp, but it's a gun. Like the base of the lamp is just a gun, like a pistol pointing up. And the bulb plugs into the top of the pistol, and a little
I might
shade
rock
goes over.
that in my man cave.
And I think I still have it.
Oh, really?
Because she gave me a box of like swag she didn't want. Because she's like, I don't think in the current climate I need a gun lamp.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fair. Yeah. I might have that if you wanted it. I think I have that in garage.
Well, I don't have a man cave yet, but if the day ever comes where I actually own a home and I have a man cave, I'll come for it.
All right. If it's still here, I don't know.
Okay, I think we'll answer one more. Gohan Rage, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. In fact, I want to get to anybody else who dropped that here at the end of the show. Okay, you're the only one. Vincent brings up, you can get into the Multiverses beta by watching a Twitch stream for an hour. If you can handle it, go do it. What else we got here? Cinetyke, check out any of the new Resident Evil series on Netflix. I went in with an open mind, but feels poor after 4 episodes. Any thoughts? It actually was on the rundown 2-3 days ago, and it was part of my plan to go watch some of it because I was like, oh, this show, we don't have enough topics for this week's show. I need to make sure I watch the new live action Resident Evil series on Netflix. And then I saw the reviews for it, and I lost motivation, and then some games appeared, and I didn't need it, and we removed it from the show. So I'm glad that you brought it up, but I have not watched it. Have you?
No.
It's Metacritic.
I mean, the idea of following the Resident Evil series into a narrative form is absurd to me.
It's a live-action TV show.
Like, why? Why would I want to watch, even if I wanted to watch weird, dumb horror zombie shit, why would I choose Resident Evil for that? Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of not quite as horrible zombie stuff to watch.
Honestly, from what I've seen, like the stupid movies are probably a better choice because A, they're over faster, and B, at least they don't take themselves very seriously.
That's true. Yeah, there's a little bit of a wink and a nudge in those films, but yeah, I haven't seen the TV show. I don't know, but it's sitting at like a 22 on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
That's about where Resident Evil's story should be.
Yeah. So I really don't see myself. Now that we're talking about it on episode 308, I'm definitely not going to watch it for episode 309.
No, I don't think anyone needs to spend their time on that.
I think that's a waste of time. Like, I don't always trust other people's opinions, but when it's that overwhelmingly bad...
And that overwhelmingly unsurprising.
Right.
I mean, given what you're working with.
Like, if it's below a 40, that's when I don't even give it a chance.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, you know what? A lot of people are really stupid, but there aren't that many stupid people. So that's when I draw the line. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, Ian Esquire got in with Twitch Prime at the last second. Thank you, bro. We appreciate it. Speaking of Twitch Prime, if you guys are wondering, like, why does Shane always talk about Twitch Prime on GameFace? Well, it's a way that you can give us a free $2.50 every month that costs you nothing. All you have to do is you have to be a Amazon Prime subscriber. By the way, did you buy anything for Prime Day this week?
I got a couple of the collaboration Transformers that were on like half off. Those are the ones that like they cross over with Jurassic Park and Back to the Future and stuff. So I had those, but I didn't have. I like the packaging because they're a lot of the retro packaging, or they have like the movie stuff all over them. So I don't like to open them. But these were like half off, so I got them to open.
Okay,
That's it.
Almost bought an expansion for my PS5, an external.
I looked at
hard
that,
drive.
but then I decided I didn't want to do that today.
Dude, they were half
That's
off.
they're still half. Like a lot of that stuff is just crashing. I saw an entire like Bitcoin mining bank of like a rack of graphics cards for sale for it was on Amazon for like half off.
Yeah,
like it's all collapsing.
All that stuff is collapsing. You're right. They were half
it's time
off.
to build a new PC.
Yeah, it is time. Yeah, and for me too, because I built my PC when I started Sifted. I was like, I need a new rig to start this thing.
Yep, same.
So I built it from scratch, brand new.
Yep, I was building it right around the time we started doing this show.
Yeah,
and now April 2015.
It's time for a new one. It's been like 9 years.
One of the other questions we didn't get to was about Company Heroes 3 coming out in November. And I'm like, I'm probably gonna need a computer for that.
Yeah.
Like, because Company Heroes 2 runs okay on this one, but like, the modern bells and whistles aren't supported by my old PC. So Company Heroes 3 is actually definitely on my. I love the Company Heroes games.
Yeah. So they had the crazy internal SSD drives that the very specific ones you need for
labeled.
PS5.
That I was surprised by that. They're like for your PS5. Like they're trying to make you know that's
with
what
the
you need to
heatsink
use.
too, which is important. They were half off, and you could get a terabyte for like $120, and I still couldn't bring myself to buy it. I was like, wait a minute, I already spent $550 for this effing thing, and now I'm going to go spend $120 to expand the... No, like on principle, I refuse to buy it. I was like, I'm not spending $600 and some on my PS5. I'm not doing it.
I also don't feel like once I plugged in the the external drive for the PS4 stuff, I don't have that much space issues, really.
Yeah.
With the PS5 only stuff is not really that plentiful.
I buy all the third-party stuff on PS5 for whatever reason. Like, I don't know why.
I get it all on Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know why I decided PS5 with the smaller hard drive. I'm an idiot with certain things. So, anyway, that's a roundabout way to explain to you how you can help us with Twitch Prime. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, all you got to do is link your 2 accounts. If you're watching on YouTube, the instructions to do that are down below, step-by-step, easy. As I've said before, my mom, who is over 70 years old, followed those instructions and was able to do it. You can do it. And it literally will take you like a minute and a half. If you've already connected your accounts, all you have to do is go to twitch.tv/siftedgames, and there's a little purple thing on the right-hand side. You click that, it drops down, scroll to the bottom, and just choose the free subscription with Twitch Prime, and you give us a free $250. You have to re-up it every month. It sucks. I've been lobbying them to let you set it and forget it. I don't think they're ever going to let us do it. I won't give up. But you do have to go and redo it every month. And again, our totals are really down for this, and we need the money. So if you could do it, that would be awesome. We'd really appreciate it. If you want to really support us, though, in something that's really is set it and forget it, you can head to patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD without the E. You can pledge whatever you want. $1 a month, $2 a month, $1 million a month, whatever you want. And there's different tiers and different rewards for what you pledge. It's Patreon. You know how it works. You get it. But again, patreon.com/sifted. You can help us out there. And I did see a lot of people do this, Matt, and I'm very happy about this. Just like our stuff. Just like our videos. Like this video right now. Share it. Go on Twitter and be like, this podcast slaps. I love that word. That's one of the words that the kids use that I actually like. And just tell people to watch it. That helps.
I asked a young person a while ago, like, is only music slap? Or can other things that are good slap?
What did they say?
They weren't sure.
Really?
They were like, I think you could use it outside of music. I feel like it's, the verdict was that it's popular enough in usage that you could probably apply it to something else and someone else might know what you're talking about. But a 20-year-old might be like, old person doesn't know that slaps only means music. That's so sad. You're risking something.
At least 5 people this week to tweet about GameFace and say this podcast slaps, and make sure that you tag either at Sifted Games or at Dinfire. I want to see it. You guys can do it. But I saw it this week. You guys all went and liked, in a lot of cases, left comments on the latest episode of New Dimension. Thank you so much. It makes a difference. Do it for this show. Do it for Pachter Factor. Do it for everything. That's the way you can help us without spending a penny. You can also go on any of the podcast services and write a review for GameFace. Give us 5 stars. All that stuff helps. You don't even have to spend any money to help us. So I totally understand some people are broke right now. I understand a lot. The economy's all jacked up. We're spending a lot more money for a lot of stuff. I get it. There's ways to help us without spending.
$1 doesn't buy you as much Sifted as it used to.
It doesn't. It doesn't buy you as much anything right now as it used to. Hopefully that changes pretty quickly here, though. At least I hope so. We'll be back next Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday.
Slap that like button.
Slap. Have you seen that YouTuber that plays bass?
No.
He's like this guy. I think he's from like Kazakhstan. He's a little bit like, I don't know, like Borat. And he plays on it. Like he's aware, but he's like an amazing bass guitar player. And his whole thing is slap. Like he all the transitions on it is like him slapping the camera. And anyway, I'm sure somebody knows who I'm talking about. But anyway, slap that like button. Do whatever you can to help us. Every little bit makes a difference, and I appreciate every single thing that you guys do to try to help us whenever you can. And as I said, we're here every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, at twitch.tv/siftedgames. Come on in, be a part of the community. The chat is fun. Our crew is awesome. You're going to meet good people. Just do it. We'll see you guys next week. GameFace is up and out.